This is no ordinary skyblock. On this map there are no trees, no cobblestone generator and no extra resources. All we have is a limited supply of dirt and the endless void. This was the most time-consuming survival challenge I've ever attempted. I spent 2 real-life months working on this video, and you can't even imagine how low and sometimes downright dangerous surviving in such a world can be. But the question remains, is it actually possible to be the dragon with such extreme limitations? That's what we're here to find out today. And here we are. I already knew it wasn't gonna be easy. We're in hardcore mode, and to make matters worse, the only resource we have is dirt. My first task was to gather all the available material while leaving just a single block of grass. Over time it'll spread and hopefully animals will start spawning, our only real source of food for the foreseeable future. Now I begin building away from the main island, extending 24 blocks out to construct a hostile mob farm. The design is as basic as it gets, probably something you've never seen before, but with the limited blocks we have, this is one of few viable options. The idea is simple: hostile mobs and spiders will spawn on the far end. The mobs won't be able to escape and spiders won't have enough width to climb out. I didn't account for baby zombies slipping through, but that's a problem for the future me. Now, why 24 blocks, you ask? That's because mobs can only spawn beyond a radius of 24 blocks from the player, so this distance maximizes our chances of encountering at least someone. On the edge of extension, I built a simple platform where mobs can spawn. The most crucial in the beginning of our survival are spiders, as they drop strings. With it we can craft wool and eventually expand our territory. And here's how the setup looks so far. From here I can safely attack anything that spawns, knocking most of them off, except for spiders, which we want to keep. Wow, just look at this view! As night fell, a skeleton and baby zombie spawned outside the platform. Oh man, I don't want to die to these fools, but I also don't want to waste the whole night of farming. Wait, oh, he missed. Okay, come on, fall already. Eventually, I managed to knock all of them off the edge. They must have spawned outside the farm because I was standing too far away, so that's something I'll need to keep in mind for the future. To prevent mobs from spawning underneath the platform, I placed a few blocks there so that any mob spawning there can either be killed or pushed off. While doing that, another creeper and skeleton spawned outside the platform. What a pain these mobs are. The skeleton went down quickly, but I had to deal with the creeper up close. And 2 gunpowder might come in handy later. Oh, look at that, the first mobs have spawned. Down you go, down you go. After a while, the first spiders finally spawned. However, after taking them off, I got absolutely nothing useful, just a single worthless spider eye. Throughout the night, more mobs appeared, but no additional spiders showed up. And just like that, my first night passed. The next night, I managed to gather my first pieces of string. While waiting for more spawns, mobs appeared outside the farm again. I managed to knock a zombie off the platform, but he landed a hit on me, which started draining my hunger even more. Worse still, a skeleton forced me to skip the entire night of farming. To avoid getting killed, I had to wait until daytime for it to burn on the sunlight. Meanwhile, the grass on my platform started spreading. Hoping for peaceful mobs to spawn, I moved to the far side of the island. But unfortunately, the entire day passed with no signs of life. That night things turned chaotic again. A creeper spawned, which I dealt with my hands. But then behind me a zombie holding a shovel appeared. I had high hopes of obtaining the shovel because we're in a snowy taiga biome. With it I could collect snow and craft new blocks in the future. Sadly, not even a piece of rotten flesh dropped from him. When the sun rose, I backed away to increase the chances of animal spawns. By this point I had no other options. I desperately needed food as I was down to just 1.5 hearts. At this stage almost any damage could end this challenge for good. Yet another entire day passed without any peaceful mobs appearing. That night the hostile mob situation escalated dramatically. Just look at this chaos. What is even happening? There are so many of them. They're even pushing each other off the platform. When daylight came, the skeletons and zombies burned in the sun, leaving only the creepers. Ooh, the one almost exploded. I managed to knock it off. And you, little spider, come on, daddy. I carefully lured the remaining creepers into a line using a 2-block barrier and just knocked them off one by one. During the day, I returned to the opposite side of the platform, still hoping for an animals to spawn. And finally my patience paid off. Our first peaceful mob appeared and it was a cow. No way, guys, it actually happened. This cow is standing right on the edge. I need to move it away from the void somehow. I tried luring it with flowers, but it didn't seem interested. After a while, it wandered away from the edge on its own. I quickly built a barrier to keep it from falling off, and after taking it down, I got 3 pieces of raw beef, which I immediately ate to regain a few hearts. Sometime later, another cow and a pig spawned on the island. Thanks to them, I was able to restore nearly my entire health bar. Honestly, I was ecstatic at this point. Every single resource in this survival feels like a monumental challenge to obtain. Another night has fallen, time to keep watch and hope for some useful spawns. This time a creeper and zombie spawned again outside the farm, but we also had a few useful appearances. And here's what I managed to collect after 5 days of survival. I even have enough string to craft some wool blocks, but I'm holding off for now. The next day it brought snow, which meant foxes could now spawn on the platform, with a 1% chance they might hold an emerald in their mouths, which could be traded with a wandering trader to progress further. You might think it sounds easy, just wait for a fox and the trader to spawn, right? But you have no idea what it takes to make even this strategy work. Wow, the vibe here is amazing, so calm and soothing. Within minutes, nearly the entire platform was covered in snow, and here's our first winter sunset. Most of the time I was just waiting for something, at night for spiders to spawn and during the day for peaceful mobs. At one point, while dismantling the 2 blocks barrier that protected me from unexpected spawns outside the farm, one of blocks fell into the void. In this challenge every block is precious, especially dirt, but there was nothing I could do. I kept farming spiders and even managed to win a one-on-one battle. Whenever I wandered too far, hostile mobs would spawn on the peaceful mob side. As a result, I had to spend the entire night waiting, losing valuable farming time. After a while, I started suspecting that snow might be preventing peaceful mob spawns, so I decided to clear it off. After all, we are still far from meeting a fox with an emerald. When night fell, I began placing carpets on the mob farm. The idea was to prevent all mobs except spiders from spawning. Other mobs won't be able to appear here, but since spiders are only 1 block tall, they can still spawn underneath. Over time, this setup will maximize spider spawns and help us gather string much faster. A few days later, I was thrilled to see my first sheep spawn. Not only did it drop meat, but also wool blocks, each one equivalent to 4 spider strings, which is a pretty significant boost. Using more wool, I crafted carpets for the mob farm. As a result, even more spiders started spawning. Every night all I did was farming strings, since it's the only way to make any progress at all. After a few more days, I managed to cover the entire farm with carpets, officially transforming it into a spider farm. The next day brought a few more peaceful mob spawns, which were very helpful. That night, however, mobs started spawning on the farm itself. This meant I'd have to place carpets on the roof as well. The hostile mobs cost me yet another night of farming. What's wrong with this creeper? Okay. With snow once again covering the platform, I decided to wait at the spider's farm, hoping for foxes to spawn. But instead a wolf appeared. Fortunately, I'd already gathered 6 bones from skeletons, so I tried taming it. Come on, be my buddy? No? Well, your loss. After staying in there for another day, I thought nothing had spawned, but upon returning I found 5 raw mutton pieces lying around. And because they were in the snow, I hadn't noticed them earlier. Apparently some sheep had spawned and fallen victim to the wolf. Continuing my spider farming, I eventually placed a few carpets on the roof on the farm to prevent hostile mob spawns there. Whoa, what's going on there? And the winner is... friendship. Apparently I missed some spots with carpets. That night I stayed at the spider farm again, hoping for foxes, which can spawn at night. Instead I got an enderman and a bunch of useless mobs. The slenderman even had the audacity to steal a block of precious dirt. I waited for him to place it somewhere, but he clearly didn't care. Bad boy, bad boy. The next few days were filled with the usual routine, farming spiders and waiting for peaceful mobs. At one point the wolf took down a few more sheep, one of which had grey wool. I also managed to get a rabbit hide and some raw rabbit meat. Jump, little guy. Oh, I accidentally fed him. Out of boredom, I wandered back and forth, gazing at the endless void of this world. I used my wool to finish placing carpets on the farm roof, and theoretically, only spiders should spawn there. After a while, a few new cows appeared. From them I gained leather, a new valuable resource. And since we have more wool, we expand the farm. Here's how it looks now. Our island is developing little by little. The spider spawns increase significantly, meaning I'm getting closer to the goal with each passing day. Occasionally slimes would spawn, spawn, but most of them jumped straight into the void, making them rather pointless. Watching the snowy weather actually makes me feel cold. Oh, the first fox appeared. Unfortunately, it wasn't carrying an emerald in its mouth, but at least they're spawning. That's already a good sign. Let's give it a slime ball as a gift. Hopefully it appreciates it. Almost immediately, another fox showed up, and this one had something in its mouth, but I couldn't quite tell what it was. I tried giving it a slime ball, but for some reason it wouldn't pick it up. On the other hand, it grabbed a spider eye almost instantly. Oh, it was a rabbit's foot. Well, okay then. I found it amusing that the fox ate a spider eye. It seems like these little guys are indestructible. They didn't even turn down rotten flesh. Sorry foxes, but I need those emeralds. She's running around like she's got ants in her pants. Days pass in a blur of routine, waiting for spiders to spawn, rushing to kill them, and then heading back. By day, I moved to the other side of the platform, waiting for passive mobs to spawn. Gradually, my territory expanded, but nothing particularly exciting happened. Whoa, a skeleton jockey just spawned. How do you even deal with that? Okay, understandable. Invisible spiders also showed up occasionally, and some of them even with other buffs. After farming for quite a while, I managed to gather enough string to craft some wool blocks and replace the dirt on my platform. In the end, I had 17 dirt blocks left. Placing them carefully, the platform started to take shape. I'm hoping this setup will significantly increase the spawn rate of passive mobs. That said, I forgot to place carpets on the roof after replacing the blocks, and as a result skeletons started spawning up there again. Not wanting to risk my life, I decided to wait until morning so they'd burn in the sunlight. Thankfully, it seems the spawn rate on the platform has indeed improved, with more animals appearing. By the way, I decided not to kill the chicken that spawned. My plan was to wait for another one to spawn and breed them using seeds I'd get from the bone meal. But that plan didn't last long. 2 foxes spawned and immediately took down my poor chick. Get it out of here! Eventually another Chicho spawned, but I decided to kill it myself this time. Better me than foxes. The expansion of the passive mob farm also led to an increase in slime spawns, which became a bit of an issue. I started to think they were messing with the spawn rates, but there wasn't much I could do about it yet. From time to time I'd kill them, but mainly they just fell off the edge on their own, so it wasn't too bad. What these foxes are even doing? Over time I replaced all the dirt blocks with wool, expanded the main platform, and now everything works perfectly. After stockpiling enough wool, I focused on enlarging the passive mob farm further. My goal was to encourage fox spawns, as they can appear on snow regardless of the block type. I'm holding out hope that one day a fox will spawn with an emerald in its mouth, and then we'll be able to trade it for moss with a wandering trader. As I expanded the platform, the number of slimes increased significantly. One night it started snowing, which meant the foxes would soon start spawning. I just have to hope lighting doesn't strike the platform, otherwise everything here will just burn to the ground, and we don't have a ground, so... By day, foxes started spawning greater numbers, but there was still no emeralds to be found. After a while, I expanded the spider farm and enlarged the overall platform even further. Blocks are falling into the void. Oh no. To prevent slimes from spawning, I placed carpets around, hoping it would help. But it doesn't seem to be working at all. Finally, it started snowing. I just need to pray the lighting doesn't strike my platform or it'll all burn down. I'm still working on expanding the mob farm, and here's how it's looking so far. It feels like way more mobs are spawning on the platform now. Oh, another wolf has appeared. And it even let itself be tamed. Let's name him Mustang. I placed Mustang on the highest point of the platform to keep him from wandering off. Days were passing, and after what felt like an eternity and dozens of foxes, I finally spot it. Wait, is that an emerald? Seriously? After trying to trade with the fox for a while, she finally agreed. That's our first emerald, finally! In the days that followed, I kept farming spiders, chasing off unnecessary foxes and gathering resources from the animals. Everything I needed were some emeralds, but new foxes didn't want to cooperate. Eventually I reached my 100th day of the survival, and truth be told, this is the only beginning of what we are gonna do in this world. Here's the summary of the resources I've managed to collect so far. It might not look like much, but in this world where we started with only dirt, it's actually pretty impressive. Not knowing what to do with all the wool blocks in this stage, I decided to invest them into automating the spider farm. Using wool, I built pillars designed to make any spider that reaches me fall to its death. The leftover wool was used to further expand the spider farm. Oh, Mustang! Now the farm works by luring spiders that spawn, then backing away so they fall and take damage. This way I get the string without needing to kill them manually, and to be honest, this method made farming much easier and more efficient since I no longer waste time fighting with them directly. Look, there it goes, and bam! Perfect, it works. The only downside is that we don't get XP from them, but I guess that's not a big of a deal, cause we don't even have anything to spend it on. One drawback of this setup that spiders with regeneration effect don't die from the fall, so I still need to stay vigilant. Over time I expanded the platform and now it looks like this, and I'm hoping that increases the chances of foxes with emerald spawning. For the next few days I focus on foxes while still farming spiders at night. Eventually 2 wolves appeared on the platform. I tamed both and even bred them, creating a tiny pup. And after some time I decided to give up on the foxes since no new ones with emeralds were spawning. Instead I started dismantling the farm to expand the platform further and wait for Wandering Trader to spawn. 1 emerald should be enough for my needs after all. I built a kind of toilet-shaped structure on the platform where I would wait for the trader to appear. And to be honest, this was the moment where things didn't go as planned. I spent dozens of days standing there, and as you might have guessed, no one showed up. To give you an idea, the Wandering Trader has a 2.5 chance of spawning, and if he doesn't appear on the first day, the chances increase to 5% on the second day, and starting from the third day it caps at 7.5% until the trader finally spawns. And considering I've been standing here for about 20 hours, the probability of the spawn by now should have been 99.07%. And I guess I'm doing something wrong. I decided to remove all the carpets thinking they might be why the Wandering Trader refuses to spawn. I hope this works, otherwise I have no clue what I'm doing wrong. I also decided to change my FK spot to see if it helps. The slimes are multiplying like crazy and the platform has turned into chaos. Have no idea how we'll encounter that trader. I'm so frustrated, you have no idea. Sometimes slimes would spawn high enough to reach my FK spot, forcing me to knock them off the void. Almost died! Stupid slimes! The days dragged on. I had lost track of how much time had passed, but the Wandering Trader still refuses to show up. Another snowy day. I have no idea how long I've been standing here. Maybe for about a week or so I've been trying to get him. And I'm so fed up, you can't even imagine. For several real-life days I've had Minecraft running in the background with peaceful mob sounds turned up to max, so I'd hear the trader with his llamas right away. That's how my miserable days are spent while I browse the internet searching for answers. And honestly, I have no idea what I'm missing. I couldn't take it anymore. It had been about 2 or 3 weeks in real life at this point. I scoured every resource mentioning Wandering Trader, but the information was scarce. After piecing together what I could, I identified 3 possible factors behind my issue. Height. Nowhere does it explicitly state at what level Wandering Traders can spawn, but I'm near the bedrock level and I can't be sure they can spawn this low. Snow. Snowfall might be interfering somehow. And biome. I'm in a snowy biome and that might be a contributing factor. At this point I was tempted to give up and move on to a new challenge cause it's taken a considerable amount of my time, but I decided to give the Wandering Trader one more chance. First, I rebuilt my spider farm as I was running low on string after expanding the platform. On the first night back at farming, I realized mobs were spawning where I had been AFKing, ruining the spawn rate. So during the day I covered that area with carpets. Since I removed the carpets earlier, the platform has turned into a daily gladiator arena with slimes. Over time, spider farm started functioning smoothly again. There were still occasional problems, but I resolved them quickly. Each night I gathered more string and expanded the farm until it was fully operational. What the heck is that? How did he even spawn here? One time while calmly farming spiders, a creeper spawned right next to me. He almost killed me, and with my limited resources we can't even protect ourselves. There is always some unexpected chaos trying to end you in this world. Finally, after what felt like thousands of spider kills, the farm was back to its original state. My plan was to gather enough string to build a long bridge away from the platform. And my suspicion was that the Wandering Trader wasn't spawning because of the low height and snowy weather. I also know this map contains other biomes, so my goal is to reach one of them. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, I'm back to where I started, farming spiders. My plan was to gather enough string to build a long bridge away from the platform.
I don't know what's right or wrong, live or fade, where do I belong? I don't know what's right or wrong, laugh it off or light up strong. Take me whole, break my soul.
I'll be building in the cheapest way possible, placing string and covering it with a carpet. This lets me build much more efficiently than using regular blocks. I've collected so many spider eyes, it's crazy. By the way, here's what the inventory of a player who survived about 500 days on the SKYBLOCK looks like. And never mind that I've spent almost 400 of those days AFK. Since the nearest biome was who knows where, I had long days of farming strings again. After that, I had to blindly build into the void, searching for new biomes. Wow, look at all the mobs that spawned. After collecting enough string, I started building a platform in a beach biome. It may improve my chances. Next, I decided to build up to Y level 80, hoping it would help. The height seemed reasonable, the biome was different, and there was no snow. All I could do hope this setup would work. By the way, I tested this in another world, and the Wandering Trader appeared after about 12 days, so I just had to hope my survival world wasn't cursed. At this point, I figured it was the best to invest my wool into expanding the platform. And after several dozen more days of farming and building, the platform was finally complete. Now it was just a waiting game. And believe it or not only did he spawn, but I managed to capture this moment with replay mode. Oh my gosh, did he really spawn? No way. No way, guys. After such a long time, we are moving forward. Finally, let's hope he gets the right trades. Yes, he has moss. No way. I still can't believe that's happening. This moss is the most valuable item in this entire survival run. After getting the moss, I immediately returned to my island. I think many of you already know why I needed it so much. First, we place the moss, turn both into bone meal and use it like that. This gives you an azalea sapling, which you can grow into full trees. Oh yeah, just look at his beauty. It took a lot of time, but I can't even describe how happy I was at that moment. I've been recording this video already for about a month now, and it feels like I've achieved some grand milestone. But it's just a tree, oh man. I harvested my first wood and saplings, created my first crafting table, and made a chest to store all my resources. Finally guys, we have something to organize our resources. This is huge. I also crafted a bed to skip the nights. I still can't believe I did it. With a wooden axe in hand, I started chopping trees and gathering as much new material as I could. Once I had enough, I began building a mob farm. It was pretty straightforward, without any mechanisms and even the water, only blocks and trapdoors. During construction, I made a mistake which caused some delays. By the time I finished, it was night and I saw this chaos. What is even going on there? And what am I supposed to do with this? While heading down, a skeleton managed to hit a creeper and blow everything up. Did you hear that? To make mobs despawn, I had to move far away from the island, and when I came back, I repaired the damage from the explosion. Alright Enderman, time to leave? And I also placed carpets again to stop slimes from spawning. Even though the mob farm is relatively small, it still spawns a decent amount of mobs. The first new loot we got is redstone from a witch and the golden armor. We'll smell the armor into nuggets, but more on that later. The next day, I finally finished the mob farm. Afterward, I went back to grinding loot and eventually zombie dropped a potato. Thanks to that, I no longer had to worry about food. With an almost infinite supply of bone meal and now potatoes, I was sad. After harvesting several stacks of potatoes, I returned to farming mobs. When my inventory filled up, I crafted more chests and built a storage area for all the resources I was getting. While farming, I noticed I had picked up some iron tools, and one of them was an intact shovel. In the following days, I continued grinding, organizing chests, battling slimes, and cleaning snow from the island. Soon, I noticed I had managed to get a few iron ingots from zombies, along with a carrot. The carrot will come in handy later for trading with villagers. When the number of chests became overwhelming, I crafted some signs and started organizing them for better sorting, making it easier to manage in the future. The next few days were spent farming resources, farming mobs, chopping wood and sorting my storage. These slimes keep falling off the roof of the mob farm. One day I'll have to put carpets up there. Oh, a witch dropped a potion bottle. That will come in handy later for getting water. After slaying hundreds of mobs, I finally gathered a decent set of armor. Honestly, farming mobs and wood was way more engaging than killing spiders. After dealing with spiders so much, even the dullest tasks feel fun now. From the witches, I also collected some glowstone dust, so I crafted a few light sources. Oh, this is so much better now. After several dozen days of grinding, I had accumulated a solid stash of resources. But the constant annoyance of slimes drove me to finally build up to the roof and cover it with the wool carpets and hope it would solve the problem. And so, day after day I just kept grinding and farming. Eventually I decided to start working on a cobblestone generator, but for that we'll need lava, which can't be obtained directly. Thankfully, there must be one lava source near the end portal. The only catch, that portal was thousands of blocks away, but at least I knew the coordinates, cause I was exploring this map before the survival. Before setting off, I had to gather a massive amount of wood. Once I was ready, I used iron ingots I had collected to craft a bucket for the lava. Then I made slabs and began building my way toward the portal. This process took an absurd amount of time and resources. And there is the portal! When I reached it, I noticed there already were 2 eyes. That meant I'd still need to find 10 more later. I grabbed the precious lava and got an achievement. But I wasn't eager to head back just yet since night had fallen and the breach was swarming with mobs. I'll wait here for now and head back during the day. The next morning, I cleared out the remaining mobs and began my journey back to my base. Now the only thing left for the cobblestone generator was water, so I continued farming mobs and collecting iron ingots. Oh, my first ender pearl! After gathering enough iron, I crafted a cauldron and built a small platform on a swamp biome that was near my base all this time. I placed it there because unlike snow, rain falls in swamps and cauldron would slowly fill up with water. Now it's just a matter of waiting, so I continued to do my routine stuff. And few days later it actually started raining. Let's hope the cauldron fills up a bit. I kept farming mobs and chopping trees, and once rain stopped I rushed over to check the cauldron. What? After some time, I crafted another cauldron, hoping it would speed up the process. I carried on with my usual routine. Each day felt the same until the next rainstorm finally came. Oh, we've got water! Slowly but surely it's filling up. To celebrate, I marked out a spot for my infinite water source and started building a designated area for a cobblestone generator. I used bone blocks for the structure since it's the only material I had that wouldn't burn. And after the rain, I even spotted my first rainbow. Wow, that's so cool! After another heavy rainstorm, the cauldron finally filled up completely and I got my first bucket of water. Using the bottles dropped by witches, I gathered some water and poured it into another cauldron. That gave me enough to create an infinite water source. Finally, we have the cobblestone generator, and it's hard to believe, but with each step forward it gets easier and easier to farm resources. I mined some cobblestone, crafted tools, and resumed farming. The cobblestone opened up a whole range of crafting possibilities. One of the first things I made was torches, which allowed me to expand my territory to stop hostile mobs from spawning. Oh, nice! An iron helmet! Not bad, our gear is looking decent now. The next day I began expanding my territory. The most important thing was not to forget about carpets. Those slimes are still driving me crazy. Man, chopping trees with a stone axe feels so good. Once the platform was fully built, I lit it up with torches, and hopefully this will keep any unwanted mobs from showing up. The torches also melted most of the snow in my area, which unfortunately stopped foxes from spawning. And since I needed emeralds for trading, I decided to gather materials to build a fox farm. For several days I focused on chopping wood, and when I had enough, I began construction. The concept of the farm was simple. Foxes would spawn on the platform, get lured by a chicken sitting in a boat, and fall into a trap where I could collect their loot. The farm took a while to build, but trust me, it'll be way better than just waiting around for foxes. Now all that's left was to wait for snow. Returning to my base, I tamed another wolf and named her Jella. After some time, it started snowing. Using a shovel, I also gathered the snow that was still on my territory and added it to the farm. At the end of the snowstorm, I went back down and noticed a wandering trader. He wasn't particularly useful since I didn't have emeralds yet, but it was reassuring to see him spawn on my platform. Apparently, removing the snow was the key factor in getting him to appear. Next, I went AFK at the fox farm hoping they would spawn. However, after several days nothing showed up. Even when the platform was completely covered in snow, no foxes spawned. I tried covering the slime chunk with carpets to improve the spawn rate, but it didn't help much. It seemed like I had built the farm too high up. I had no choice but to rebuild it at the lower level. After looking up some guides online, I set out to gather the necessary resources, a ton of wood, some cobblestone, and a hopper to collect loot. Once everything was ready, I started construction on a new farm. I really hoped it would work this time, because if not, I have to resort to removing all the torches from my platform and waiting for foxes and emeralds manually. The new design began with a circular platform. In the center, I built the main mechanism and set it up so that foxes would be lured by a chicken and fall into a water trap. Now let's move the chicken over here. Perfect. I added the final touches and placed the water into the trap. After setting up a hopper to collect loot, the farm was complete. Foxes would now be drawn to the chicken, fall into the trap, suffocate, and their loot would end up in the hopper. I moved 20 blocks away from the farm and started waiting. After a while, a snowstorm passed, covering the entire platform with snow. While admiring my first brown sheep, I noticed the first foxes appear on my platform. Now let me show you how the farm works. The fox gets attracted to the chicken, rushes toward it, and falls into the water trap. From there, well, you get the idea. And that's how the farm operates. Honestly, this is way better than farming emeralds manually. I adjusted my FK spot and settled in a long hole since I needed more emeralds, so I left Minecraft open for a day and went doing my things. And after about 30 days, I ended up with 8 emeralds. 8 emeralds, not bad at all. Returning to my island, I mined some cobblestone, crafted new tools, and set off to gather more wool to replace all the wool on my platform. While working on this, I caught a glimpse of another wandering trader. The next morning, I went to check his trades, and he had everything I needed. He was selling oak saplings, moss, and stalactites. This is insane, probably the first time I got lucky in this world. And I can't believe I'm still surviving here and haven't given up yet. With the stalactites I could get lava and build a nether portal. As for the moss and oak sapling, I'll explain their importance later. For now, I removed the remaining wool blocks and the platform looks much better now. And here I decided to leave a small grass platform, it'll come in handy later. Now it was time for the next stage. Using the oak sapling, I planned to get an apple, turn it into a golden apple and wait for a zombie villager and a witch to spawn. Witches sometimes throw splash potions of weakness and I could use it to cure the villager. And once cured, I'd have access to trading, making survival much easier. The plan was clear, now it was time to execute it. First, I grew the oak sapling and harvested my first apple, crafted a few furnaces, and for once my pile of golden armor came in handy. By smelting everything, I managed to scrape together enough gold for 1 golden apple. Unfortunately, I needed at least 2 to start breeding villagers and maximize training potential, so back to mob farming it was. Realizing how slow this process would be, I decided to build a small carrot and potato farm where villagers could eventually breed. During construction, I ran out of dirt, and to solve this I came up with such a workaround. I mined cobblestone, smelted it into a stone, placed the stone next to moss and used bone meal to turn it into moss blocks. Grew azalea trees on the moss and voila, dirt blocks! After repeating this process for several times, I had enough dirt to complete the farm. I added fences, tilled the soil, planted crops, and of course I didn't forget to place beds for future villagers. The next day I decided to expand my territory further. This would increase the chances of wandering traders spawning. By the end of the day I relocated my cauldrons to the cobblestone generator and poured my single source of lava over them. Adding stalactites, I set up a system to collect lava over time. The lava would be crucial for building another portal later. Waking up the next morning, I resumed farming golden armor and expanded my storage system, as most of my chests were already overflowing with resources. While smelting armor, I noticed one of the cauldrons has completely filled with lava. That didn't take too long, looks like we'll be heading to the nether soon. From the fox farm, I grabbed the hopper and connected it to cobblestone generator, making resources collection much easier. I also upgraded my storage system by replacing signs with item frames. This looks way better. However, I noticed slime spawning on the crop fields and trampling my plants. Stupid slimes! I'll have to figure out a way to fix this. After several days of farming, I finally had enough gold for a second golden apple. It was time to move forward with my plan. I added a small water-based mechanism to my mob farm where I could trap a zombie villager and a witch. All I had to do now was wait for them to spawn. Oh, there is one? Oh no, wait, I forgot to place the blocks there. Well, that's on me. Eventually, a witch spawned. I quickly broke a block to let her fall, but realized she was too tall and got stuck. Oh no, she's stuck. What a battle down there. Die already. Ooh, she's still alive. After some effort, I managed to trap the witch in the boat. You wouldn't believe how dangerous that hag is. Her potion's a nightmare and I can't even get close to her. Finally, I managed to get her into a cell. Oh, a music disc. Nice. Then I waited for a zombie villager to spawn. Once I had one, I paddled over the witch and began the long process of waiting for her to throw a splash potion of weakness. This alcoholic witch is driving me nuts with her poison potions. I'm almost out of food. Finally, after what felt like 100 potions, I finally saw the weakness potion effect from the witch. Now the golden apple, and all that's left is to wait. The witch had been a relentless menace, the constant barrage of potions was exhausting, and playing in hardcore mode made every encounter nerve-wracking. Die already, you menace. But at last the zombie villager was cured. Yes, we've got a villager! I tried to assign him to the farmer profession, but he kept running away. Where are you going, you little rascal? After a frustrating couple minutes of trying to push him, I gave up and put him in a boat, ferrying him over to the crop fields. Oh, finally, he's taken the farmer job. The next morning, I checked his trades. With his help, I could trade carrots for emeralds, an incredible deal since I had an abundance of carrots. I repeated the process, capturing another zombie villager and a witch, curing the villager and assigning him a profession. The new one was supposed to become a toolsmith, but instead he ran to the cauldron and became a leather worker. Oh wow, we have more lava. I transported him to the crop field and soon he had the first villager and had their first baby. Oh, look at this little guy. Using bone meal, I grew more carrots and continued trading with the farmers, stockpiling emeralds. Over time, he unlocked trades for pumpkin pies and cookies. And meanwhile, I started building the nether portal. I think a few more days and we'll be finally ready to go to the nether. The next several days were a grind of farming carrots, trading with villagers and leveling up their professions. When the baby villager grew up, he became a toolsmith. I started buying everything he offered to unlock upgraded tools. I spent my days trading, farming and gradually completing the portal. The final obsidian block, and it's done, but I'll save the entering the nether for later. By this point, the toolsmith has unlocked diamond tools, including an axe. I used it to gather wood and started constructing a dedicated trading zone for the villagers, as the crop field was becoming too crowded. Oh, we have a cat now, no more creeper worries. The trading zone began taking shape. Here we'll have a farmer, shepherd, butcher, weaponsmith, and leather worker, with the plans to add an armorer later. The next morning, I began relocating the villagers. To create the armorer's workstation, I needed iron, so I killed a few golems that had spawned. Once this guy grows up, he'll be our armorer. Now it's just a waiting game. This farm is insane. I can't believe the hardest part of the survival is finally behind us. The following day, I decided to light the nether portal using lava, as I still didn't have flint for lighter. Oh, here we are. After 688 in-game days, I finally entered the nether. I still can't believe it. Wow, it's so gorgeous here. Have you ever seen the nether void? I knew there was a fortress near the portal where blazes could spawn. I mean, there was a fortress, but right now what we can do is build up there and start setting up some kind of a blaze farm. And wither skeletons even started appearing there. In Minecraft you can't progress without blaze rods, so this stage of our survival is really important. Besides, it's taken nearly 700 days and already almost 2 months to get here. I already even started recording the other videos and a lot of things happen. It's really been a while since the beginning of this survival. Oh, a wither skeleton skull. We may kill a wither later. The next few days were spent farming blazes and wither skeletons. It wasn't the most thrilling task, but it was productive. I've got more than enough to reach the end, and now it's time to farm the ender pearls. Returning to my island, I deposited my resources and headed back to the nether to expand the area around the portal for future farming. I just love how the colors change depending on the biome. This place looks very beautiful. After building my way to the Crimson Forest, I caught the attention of a skeleton and nearly died. No way guys, I just got really scared. I was so scared after this, I could barely think straight. Losing everything after so many days, that takes a talent. Once I restored my health, I got to work building a gold farm. I needed gold for trading with piglins, and while I was constructing the farm, some of them decided to spawn on their own. I placed slabs to prevent magma cubes from spawning, and just like that, the farm was ready. The system was simple. I'd lure the zombified piglins with a bow and then they'll just fall into our trap. After a while I went down to collect the loot and was rewarded with a ton of resources and a few achievements. Apparently, one little piglin had been picking up all the gold from zombified piglins and trading all by itself. And since we already have gold, I started trading and finally gathered the remaining ender pearls I needed and headed back to the overworld. On my return, I kept grinding villagers, and after some time I finally obtained a full set of diamond armor. I still can't believe it. And now I think we are prepared for the dragon fight. With this gear, there is no way I'll mess it up. Alright, let's head to the portal. 1, 2, 3. Wow, the normal land is actually here. I bridged away from the starting platform and got straight to work.
So you can see what you do. Restless every time we start locking as lost control. It's paradise with honesty, but I'm in the dead of the night. Teardrops on the floor. The pain is over. Feel the darkness take control.
The dragon was defeated. Finally, we did it after such an amount of time. I didn't stick around for long though. I grabbed the dragon ball and returned home. For now, I decided to place it in the item frame. I'll figure out a better spot for it later. I had no idea where to start or how to gather dirt, stone and all the other materials I'd need. So first things first, I decided to prepare for all of this. I figured it would be a good idea to work on the island we already have, setting up animal pens, iron and sugarcane farms, because these resources would be crucial in the future. I grabbed some azalea and a bit of bone meal and went to collect wood. I needed it to build the pens and finally put the end to the chaos happening on the island. Animals were running around everywhere, getting in the way of everything. For now, I kept the design simple. We'll worry about making it look nice later once we have the floating island. But for now, I decided to move the pigs into their new home. I'll be breeding them from time to time, so food definitely won't be a problem. Next to them, we'd have some sheep as well. And here's how it looks so far. Next, I moved around some villagers' workstations so they'd return to the farm and start producing new losers. For an iron farm, I'm gonna need a lot of them. When I woke up, I realized it was already day 700, so to celebrate, I went to gather stone. Very interesting. But I needed dirt. I threw some cobblestone into the furnace to smelt it into the stone, then I placed it next to the moss blocks and used bone meal on it, which instantly transformed the stone into moss. Then I grew azalea on these blocks, which turned them into rooted dirt. All that was left was to till it with a hoe. And just like that, black magic works perfectly. For the next 4 days, I kept growing trees and duplicating dirt blocks, but all the effort was totally worth it. By the end, I had over 15 stacks of wood and nearly 3 stacks of dirt. The next day, I started placing down the dirt to build the iron farm on top of it. I even had to expand the island to make enough space. My idea was to use dirt so I could dig it up later if needed and would prevent golems from spawning outside the farm. But then I realized, what am I even doing in this life? Instead of dirt, I could have just used carpets, and I had a ton of them. So I tore everything down and started rebuilding the golem farm from scratch. I placed down 3x3 platform where the villagers would sit. Next to it, I built a box for the zombie, which would scare them into spawning golems. And just like that, the golem grinder was coming together. All that was left was to add a roof and barriers to keep the golems from falling off. Done! The iron heads will now get flushed right into the spot where we can easily take them out. When night fell, I waited for some zombies to spawn on the farm, hoping one of them will be able to pick up items. Oh, he grabbed it! By the way, this is done so the zombie doesn't despawn over time. And now this little guy is heading straight into his new home. That's it, buddy, you're staying here for eternity, understood? The next day, I started transporting villagers to the iron farm using bows. Now I just need to set up their beds. To prevent golems from spawning outside the farm, I covered the surrounding area with carpets, and also decided to build another farm to double the iron production. Come on, get in there, you stubborn donkey. After that, I poured in the water and the farm was almost complete. Oh, the water's turning into ice. Guess I'll place some torches here, should help us with it. Next, I gathered some food and headed over to the villager farm. Oh, whoa, what are they doing here? Baby Sigma villager, nice! Now all that's left is to transport the villagers to the second iron farm, and once that's done, both farms will be up and running. You stupid golem, can't you move already? The last villager, and done. Oh, lava has collected in the cauldron. I'll place it by the cobblestone generator for now, we're gonna need a lot more of it later. I also didn't forget about feeding the animals, food and wool are always useful. I placed even more carpets around the iron farm, and now it's finally complete. And there's our first golem. At first, I had to kill them manually to collect enough iron for hoppers, and once that's set up, even this small simple farm will produce tons of iron. Well, time to spend a while farming golems. The golem spawns up top, blows into the trap, and we can take it out without no effort. After grinding for a while, I finally had enough iron ingots. And hey, there is new lava in the cauldron. I crafted some hoppers and set up the auto collection system. The lava will go in the centers, so we don't have to keep killing golems manually. Then I worked on the second golem farm. That took some time, but in the end I got it running too. Now I had 2 fully operational AFK iron farms. And to test it, I went AFK for exactly 1 hour to see how much loot they would generate. Of course, a few golems still spawned outside the farm, but I just took them down and went back to AFKing. Alright, it's been about an hour, let's check the loot. From the first chest I got 3.5 stacks of iron. Well, the second farm only made about 1.5. No idea why the second one is working twice as slow, but this is still insane iron production. This will come in super handy later. And since I'm always doing something on the island, the farm stays loaded all the time, meaning the iron will keep piling up over time. Next, I crafted a shovel and started clearing the snow of the entire island. If you watched the first part of the survival, you know that the wandering traders can spawn on the snow, and I need them for new resources. I turned all the collected snow into snow blocks. They might be useful later, but for now, time to sleep. The next day I started expanding the platform to increase the chances of wandering trader appearing. This time I needed sugarcane to craft fireworks for Elytra that we're gonna find in the end. Looks like I'd have to wait for a while for the right trade to show up. And also lighting up the area was a must to avoid unnecessary mob spawns. Here's what the platform looks like right now, but by the end of the day no trader showed up. As sun rose on day 719, I went right back to expanding the platform. I really needed that wandering trader, and finally next day the platform was done. Wait, Iron Man, what are you doing here? Suck it! From what I know, wandering traders are drawn toward bells, so if my version game actually follows this mechanic, it should work. And sure enough, after stepping away from my PC for a bit, he spawned. Oh, he's here, and he's actually walking toward the bell. Yes, he has a sugarcane. No way I'm still getting lucky with trades. Sorry buddy, you go down. I grabbed all my emeralds and rushed to trade with him. I made sure to buy a little bit of everything, because in the world like this, every resource is precious and you never know when something might come in handy. After securing the sugarcane, I immediately got to work on the farm for it. I set up 2 rows of dirt, added blocks on the sides, and placed water in between to let the sugarcane grow without any issues. These are our first sugarcane crops. To make movement easier, I added stone stairs on the sides and placed slabs in the water. Now it's way more convenient to walk around the farm. It doesn't look perfect, but for now functionality is all that matters. As the 722nd day began, I decided to wait for the sugarcane to grow, harvesting it whenever possible and replanting it in empty spots. That's pretty much how I spent the next 7 days. With the replay mod's high speed, you might not notice it, but I'm constantly running down to plant more sugarcane. A zombie decided to pay me a visit, so it looks like standing AFK on the pillar wasn't a waste of time. I'm slowly planting the second row of sugarcane now, and this is how it looks so far. The view here is incredible. The northern lights. It looks absolutely stunning. While I was AFK, my iron farm produced a solid amount of materials. Pretty impressive. Wow, look at that stare down. I think Golem has upper hand here. Why is the zombie even trying to act tough? The atmosphere here is cozy, with the sound of crickets and frogs in the background. I'll keep growing sugarcane and just enjoy the peaceful vibes. After a few more days, I finally managed to fill the entire farm with sugarcane. Now it's ready for full use. The wandering trader showed up again, and here's what he's offering this time. I think the pumpkin seeds are the most useful thing here. Another wandering trader came by, but I ran out of emeralds, so I had to farm a few more. I bought some pumpkin seeds from him, and just in case I grabbed a bucket of fish and flour. I have no idea why, but why not? I'm deciding here what to do, okay? Then I kept harvesting sugarcane because I'm planning to head to the end soon to find elytra and other valuable resources. I'll need plenty of it to craft fireworks ahead of time. At the end of the day, I sorted all my resources. The next morning, I set out to mine cobblestone since I needed a decent amount of blocks for my trip to the end. I gathered some more sugarcane, crafted it into paper, and then made fireworks. Now with my inventory full of supplies, it was time to start the long journey to the end portal. I reached it by nightfall, jumped in and made my way to the further island's portal, placing a trapdoor like this and teleporting. Spawned right on the top of chorus plants. Let's grab the flowers, they might come in handy later if I decide to build a chorus farm. And some chorus fruit itself, who knows how long we'll be stuck in this place. If I run out of food, this could be a lifesaver. And I also decided to mine some end stones since I realized I had way too few blocks. Oh, I see the city, but no ship. Either way, I decided to head over and check it out. I was getting closer, so I started bridging with wooden slabs. Alright, I'm here. There's a shulker right in the entrance. I need to take it out. Damn it, get off me! It hit me anyway. Why there's so many of these little poops flying around? Is there a shulker spawner or something? Hello? One down, and the second one too. After clearing the city, I didn't find anything interesting besides shulkers. So I continued searching for a bigger and better one. On the way, I built a small roof and took down an enderman. I don't have many ender pearls left, so getting a few more is definitely useful. They'll help me save blocks and move between islands more efficiently. Oh, I see another end city in the distance. This one looks tiny too, probably nothing in there but more shulkers. That one is huge. Finally, let's go over there. At the entrance, I was greeted by two idiots. Quickly took them down and started making my way inside. One chest had some gold and iron ingots, while another had 3 enchanted diamond chest plates. The loot was decent, but honestly I was hoping for a good enchanted pickaxe, because like a dummy I brought the iron one on this trip, and it's already on the verge of breaking. Oh, and another chest with even more loot. Course fruit? Ooh, I only had 3 hearts left. At least I got another advancement. I decided to mine more blocks, but my pickaxe finally broke. I tried using what I had left to start bridging to the ship, but halfway through it became obvious that I wouldn't have enough. So I had to climb back down and rethink my approach. I went back to the fortress, but chose a different tunnel this time. The shulkers actually helped me levitate up, and I found a chest with efficiency 4 diamond pickaxe. So I ate a chorus fruit and teleported back down. This pickaxe is a lifesaver, absolutely insane. With my new tool I mined a ton of blocks and finally finished bridging to the end ship. First I took down a brewing stand with me, used the healing potion to restore some health, took down the shulker and started checking the chests. The first one had some diamond gear and the second one 4 whole diamonds and a bunch of armor. And of course the elytra. Oh yeah, after all that effort I finally got my elytra and diamonds. Over 700 days of survival. This is honestly the hardest and longest challenge I've ever played. With elytra in hand, I set off to loot more end cities. There's gotta be another city nearby. Oh, I see one. After looting another chest and grabbing some pumpkin seeds and emeralds, I decided not to waste any more time. My inventory was completely full and there was just no room for more loot. So I started looking for the portal to return home. And straight into the portal. After looking around for a bit, I decided to return to my island, stash all my loot and take a well-earned break after this adventure. Now I needed to sort all my loot and also farm some pigs, since I'd completely run out of food after the trip. And because I was planning to return to the end soon to get more resources, extra food definitely wouldn't hurt. After that, I crafted a shulker box to store my loot more conveniently and made another trip to the end. This time I was determined to loot as much as possible. We have a problem. My elytra is breaking really fast and I don't think I'll be able to travel that fast. You know what? Forget it. I'm heading home. I'm not spending hours wandering around here anymore. Back in the overworld, I started expanding the platform where passive mobs used to spawn. Hopefully at some point cows would spawn there, since I still didn't have any and needed leather to craft books. That was crucial because I had already gathered diamonds and the only thing left was to craft an enchantment table. Alright, I'll AFK here and wait for the cows to spawn. Hopefully they show up soon. A few days later, the first one appeared. There is only one for now, so I have to wait for another. Jump. Oh, half a heart left. How did I even miss that? After that, I started building a small pen for the cows. Honestly, I'm a master builder, look at this whole pen. Then I harvested some wheat and lured the first cow in. Now I just needed to find a second one to start breeding them. I went back to my spot and waited and waited and waited, and at the end of the day another cow finally spawned. Now they should figure out what to do on their own. For the next few days I focused on breeding cows and handling small tasks around the island while also continuing to farm sugarcane. On the morning of day 745, I went cobblestone mining and then spent the next few days building a new trading area for villagers, finishing it by the end of day 747. Alright, now it's time for the slaughter. Next, I crafted books, turned them into bookshelves, and then used those to make lecterns for librarians. After that, I started moving villagers into the trading area to get the mending trade for my elytra, since that's pretty much the only way to get them working again. Oh, that was fast, but it cost 24 emeralds. Alright, we can farm 16 emeralds from paper. That leaves us with 5 more to go. Time to grind some carrots until nightfall. Wake up! Buy my stuff! Alright, that should be enough. Oh, finally we have that saint book. This is where we set up the anvil, and done. Just a couple of swings at the mob farm and elytra is fully repaired. That's amazing. By the way, the librarian unlocked some new trades, Unbreaking 3 and a lantern. You stay here, got it? And don't move. Here's how our island looks right now. Honestly, it's crazy to think I've been surviving here for so long, yet I'm still living on this makeshift platform. That definitely needs to change. I finally decided to fully enchant my armor and tools before heading back to the end. The next day, I started re-rolling librarian traits to get enchantments like feather falling and protection. How much? We'll deal with that later. And over here, we'll have a cleric to trade rotten flesh with. Finally, my stashes come in handy. First things first, I decided to buy an Unbreaking 3 book, apply it to my elytra and head straight to the end portal. This time we can loot properly since the elytra with these enchantments won't break anytime soon. I stuck to my usual flying strategy, starting from the ship's bow. Not sure if it's true, but they say flying this way increases your chances of spotting another ship. Oh, hold on. In the first chest, I found diamond tools, in the second armor and gold. Then I came across another chest with tools before heading straight for the ship. Extra elytra are never a bad thing. One chest had a bunch of gold and the other diamonds. I packed everything into a shulker box and continued searching for more end cities. Days passed as I kept looting. I have no idea how many hours I spent wandering through these cities, but I gathered an absurd amount of loot, armor, tools, gold, emeralds, everything you could ask for. I cleaned out my inventory and started hunting for useful enchantments for my gear. This one's coming with me. Alright, Feather Falling 2. Looks like I'll need to buy 3 more books for the max level, but I'm kinda broke on emeralds. The next morning, I sold some paper to the librarian, then remembered I brought some emeralds back from the end, so things weren't looking too bad. A nether portal is now officially transforming into enchanting table. Combined everything for Feather Falling 4 and we're set. Now I also need to breed more cows since I'll need a ton of leather for bookshelves to start enchanting properly. The next few days were all about that, expanding my cow farm and farming emeralds since I was still running low. At some point, a wandering trader showed up with some new goodies. By the end of the day, after gathering a decent stash of emeralds, I bought a little bit of everything from him. The most valuable item turned out to be a spruce sapling. With it, I'll be able to build so much in the future. And since my cow population had grown significantly, it was time to put them to good use. In the end, I gathered 29 leather, crafted books, and then bookshelves. But even such a number of shelves is not enough for the 30th level of enchantments. After some time, I finally gathered the required number of bookshelves. Everything was set, now I just needed lapis to finally start enchanting. Hey, why are you pushing me? Dude, you got a problem? I farmed emeralds and bought 10 lapis. First, I enchanted my chestplate with protection 3 and unbreaking. Then, by combining 2 of them, I got protection 4, and now all that's left are the boots and helmet. So I enchanted my helmet with protection 4, aqua affinity and respiration. That just left the boots, so I kept grinding emeralds and buying more lapis. My first pair of boots had protection 3, the second the same but also depth strider. Combining them gave me a pretty solid piece of gear, but I also decided to throw in Feather Falling. Now I had a full set of top tier armor. Just awesome. Let's even test how much fall damage I take if I jump from the mob farm. A heart and a half and they instantly heal back. That's insane. Now that I'm fully geared up, it's time to focus on the main goal of this episode, building a floating island. I'll need a massive amount of resources, stone, cobblestone, and dirt. In this world where every resource is precious, gathering all of this won't be easy. So I decided to start with the easiest one, cobblestone, using my upgraded generator. But for it to work at full efficiency, I'll need a beacon, and that means we have to fight the Wither. So it's time to enchant a sword with looting 3. Oh, and I don't have a nether portal anymore, so I need to head to the end, grab some obsidian and rebuild it. The next day, I used lava to ignite the portal and stepped into the nether. Oh, come on, I just broke the portal. What a pain. What the heck is this? Villagers, pigs, cats and iron golem. What kind of elite army is this? Thankfully, I had some lava and wood with me, so I reignited the portal. Now back to the grind. Of course, my priority was wither skeletons, but I also had to take care of some blazes along the way. Oh, I already have 3 skulls. Didn't even notice when that happened. Returning to my island, I crafted fireworks, and once my stakes were ready, I set off for the end portal. As soon as I arrived, I parked under the portal and spawned the Wither. Since it got stuck in the bedrock, taking it down was a breeze. Yeah, I'm not about to fight it on the surface and risk blowing everything up. After obtaining the Nether Star, I headed back to the overworld. At this point, my iron farm had already produced enough resources for a full-powered beacon. Dang, this villager really settled in. Is he even comfortable like that? Yeah, and the other ones on the farm aren't doing any better. They're just sleeping all over the place. Looks like they couldn't care less. The next day, I harvested my sugarcane, built out a little platform to avoid surprise creeper attacks, and started waiting for a wandering trader. To craft a full beacon, I needed glass, and the only way to get it was from a trader. But after standing around for 6 whole days, he never showed up. Not wanting to waste more time, I decided to automate my mob farm. I crafted magma blocks, chests, minecarts, and rails. After setting up a simple mechanism, I made it so mobs would burn on the magma blocks, and the drops would be collected by a minecart into a chest. Now I could periodically grab rotten flesh and trade it with the cleric for emeralds. On day 775, the wandering trader finally appeared, but out of all the stuff he had, the only useful thing was jungle saplings, so I bought those. Then I decided to go ahead and build the beacon platform. Once it was ready, it was just a matter of waiting for the trader to sell me some sand. It had to happen eventually. Man, I've been playing for so long and I still can't get over how beautiful this world looks. To stay productive, I started gathering materials for a next level cobblestone generator. I prepped 10 hoppers, 2 redstone torches, repeaters, and 2 pistons. For trapdoors, I needed wood, so I crafted a diamond axe, enchanted it with efficiency 4, and set out to chop some oak. Next, I turned all my bone meal into blocks. This was the perfect base material for the generator since it's non-flammable and, more importantly, I had an insane amount of it. Now, time to start building. Here's what it looks like for now. The next morning, I began working on the generator itself. I placed a chest, hoppers, and trapdoors. Using the same method, I built a trapdoor barrier behind me and added blocks 1 level higher. This is where I'd pour the water and lava. To prevent it from spilling everywhere, I placed 2 more trapdoors in the front. Then I poured in the water on one side and dumped lava on top. Next, I set up pistons on the sides, placed torches underneath, and used repeaters to create a mini redstone circuit that would push me back and forth, making mining super easy. Alright, I think I did everything right. I spent an entire day troubleshooting, rebuilding, and testing different setups before finally realizing I used a wooden button instead of a stone one. There we go, now it works. Praise the Minecraft gods. The mechanism moves me back and forth while I mine. Absolutely perfect. In the future, I'll be able to AFK and farm tons of blocks. I also poured water on the other side. Now, instead of cobblestone, I could farm stone directly, which is way faster to mine. Finally, I built a small storage area at the bottom, making the cobblestone generator fully complete. These damn slimes are driving me insane, you have no idea. I took a drastic approach and straight up demolished the part of the island where they kept spawning. Oh, much better. I harvested my sugarcane, combined 2 pickaxes to get one with efficiency 4, then merged that with my main pickaxe to achieve efficiency 5. Bomboklat! Once I activate haste 2 on the beacon, I'll be able to mine stone instantly. Even without it, I managed to collect 5 stacks of cobblestone in just a couple of minutes. Absolutely insane. Now all that's left is to wait for the wandering traders so we can start grinding out blocks. The next day, while I was standing in the cow pen, the trader finally showed up. He has sand! No way, I think they know what I need all this time. I sold rotten flesh to the cleric and used the emeralds to buy as much sand as I could. In the end, I only got half a stack, but even that would last a while. I smelted it down and finally crafted the beacon. Oh yeah, after 781 days we finally have our first beacon. A beacon in hardcore skyblock. If that's not worth a like, I don't know what is. I grabbed some iron and activated haste 2. Now, with this effect and an efficiency 5 pickaxe, I could instantly mine stone. Just look at this mining speed. I'll be able to gather enough blocks to build a massive floating island just like I planned. This is absolutely insane. After just a few minutes of mining, I got more than a row of cobblestone. Dang, now that's what I call a proper farm. I ended up AFKing for about 30 minutes. My pickaxe was on the verge of breaking, but in return I gathered an insane amount of stone. The mining speed here is just crazy. After that, I harvested some sugarcane, turned it into paper, and sold to the librarian. I needed to farm 21 emeralds to buy a mending book for my pickaxe. Bought it and enchanted the pickaxe. I slightly modified the mob farm and spent the whole morning grinding until I fully repaired my tool. At some point, I really need to upgrade the farm. This one is getting really slow for my needs. Then I went back to AFKing and farming blocks. From time to time I had to run to the mob farm to repair my pickaxe. And after a few days I had already filled up more than 2 double chests with cobblestone. That should be enough to build an upgraded mob farm. Yeah, I decided to start with that one. But before I could begin, I needed to gather some more materials. First, I stocked up on redstone, found a bunch of bows, and crafted droppers and hoppers. Once everything was ready, I started building the farm at the very edge of my island. Here's what this Eiffel Tower looks like so far. Mobs will spawn at the platform with dispensers, and later I'll fill them with water and set up a timer to activate the whole system. Next, I headed to the Nether to mine some quartz and craft a comparator for the timer. I found a piglin and started trading. Then back to the overworld. Crafted the comparator, placed it here and turned it on. While the cobblestone was smelting, I crafted torches and bought even more redstone. Once the stone was ready, I finally crafted 19 repeaters. But even that wasn't enough for the whole mechanism, so I had to trade with villagers again to get more redstone. Placed more repeaters, all with the longest delay. Damn, still 3 repeaters short. Done, finally. After that, I skipped the night and spent the whole morning filling buckets with water to load into the dispensers. Holy crap, look at all these mobs. Am I even supposed to do something there? And something just exploded. Damn it. Alright, looks like there are fewer now. Then I started loading the water buckets into the dispensers. Some mobs got in the way, but I dealt with them quickly. Oh wow, what kind of horror game is it? There were just insane amounts of mobs. I even started knocking them off while flying with Elytra, and I gotta say, I was doing a pretty good job at it. There was the last dispenser. Hey, stop blowing up already! How many times is it gonna happen? Now I needed to figure out where all the mobs would drop down. The next morning, I finished the main drain platform for the mobs and added another one at the bottom so they would all funnel into a single spot. That way it would be much easier and more efficient to kill them. I also placed some chests nearby to store all the junk. Let's add some slabs so the mobs don't hit me. Looks like good enough. Time to start this contraption. Flipping the lever and there it goes. All the mobs are pouring down and apparently glowing squids spawn here too. Now that's some next level efficiency. The amount of mobs spawning in this farm is just crazy. Thanks to this setup, I'll be able to repair my pickaxe in just a couple of minutes. I combined 2 swords and got Smite 5. Why is this guy sleeping on the ground? Looks like he doesn't care where he sleeps. Just pissed out in random spot. Oh, I just found a sword with sweeping edge. This is gonna make farming mobs even easier. Spider somehow still managed to hit me. So I smelted the stone to get smooth one and crafted an armor stand. Placed it here and started hitting it. Since the armor stand has a hitbox, the attacks pass through it. And because my sword has the sweeping edge enchantment, it also hits the mobs. This way I can kill them as safely and efficiently as possible. Dang, this is totally broken. I can basically fight mobs without even touching them. I could even block everything off and I'd still be hitting them. This is way too OP. For the sake of this farm, I even decided to enchant my sword with sweeping edge. Terrible enchantments again, and now I'm out of XP. Thankfully we have our farms, so we can grind back to level 30 so easily. On top of that, besides XP, I was also collecting rotten flesh, which I later sold to the cleric for easy emeralds. That's basically how my next few days went, grinding XP and then running off to enchant my sword. I figured it would be easier to find a villager selling sweeping edge since I really needed that enchantment. I kept breaking and placing the lectern over and over again, resetting his traits until I finally found what I needed. Oh, he's selling sweeping edge too! After buying the book, I immediately applied it to my sword. Then I farmed even more emeralds and bought a mending book, which I also slapped onto my blade. With this sword, I can take down a whole bunch of mobs in just a few hits. This will massively boost my farm's efficiency and cut down the time I spend repairing my pickaxe. Before continuing to mine cobblestone, I gathered some wood and built a huge storage for resources. Now that everything was set, I went AFK at the cobblestone farm. The next few days were just block farming. Whenever my pickaxe got close to breaking, I took a break, transferred all the mined cobblestone to storage, repaired my tool and got back to grinding. That's how my miserable survival days went. After spending a ridiculous amount of time, I finally gathered enough cobblestone. Hopefully it's enough. Now I needed to start collecting stone because my island will mainly consist of 3 materials: cobblestone, stone, and dirt. So I had to enchant my pickaxe with silk touch to mine stone instead of cobblestone. For that I needed a new lectern for the librarian. I headed to the farm and started the usual cycle of resetting trades. Oh, there it is! Buying it! Applied it to my pickaxe and now I can mine stone instead of cobblestone. This is amazing! Oh, by the way, I forgot to show you, every single one of these chests is completely stuffed with cobblestone. This is actually insane. After that, I repaired my pickaxe and went back to the usual grind, mining blocks, storing them, and fixing my tool. That's how the next few days went. But just look at how much stone I managed to gather. Honestly, I don't even know how many chests this is, but I really hope it's enough to build a floating island. The scale of this project is going to be insane. Next, I decided to enchant all my armor with mending since some pieces were starting to break. I farmed carrots and sold them to the farmer, but that was way too slow for getting emeralds, so I went back to grinding rotten flesh. With my new sword, farming became so much faster. Another great way to earn emeralds was sugarcane. I harvested it, turned it into paper, and sold to the librarian. First book is here, gonna put it on my helmet before it gets too expensive. To farm rotten flesh even more efficiently, I headed to the nether and flew to my zombie piglin farm that I built already a while ago. I hit one of them and they rushed toward me, fell down, and died on impact. After a while, I went down to collect all the rotten flesh. For now, we don't have a fully automated emerald farm, so this still takes forever. But in the end, I managed to enchant the rest of my armor with mending. The next step toward our goal is building a magma cube farm. With it, I can create a massive zombie piglin farm that will let me farm insane amounts of gold. I'll use that gold to trade with piglins for gravel and quartz. Why do I need them? I'll explain a bit later, but the final result will be dirt. Yep, you heard it right, dirt. And now we're gonna build a magma cube farm, but for that we'll need wither roses. And for those who don't know, there is only one way to get them. You have to make a wither kill mobs. Not an easy task, but we don't really have another option. So let's start by farming wither skeleton skulls. Again, the gas blew up my portal. Damn it, I need to figure out how to get out of here. Mobs in the nether are actually quite friendly, which is why a blaze helped me reignite the portal. Ooh, it's lit. I thought I was gonna stuck here forever. After that, I started fighting the mobs spawning at the farm. One heart left. Ooh, almost died. A few days later, I gathered 3 wither skeleton skulls and headed to the end portal. I summoned the wither for the second time and began luring endermen towards it, hoping the wither would kill them, allowing me to collect roses. However, the wither turned into a crazy turret, destroying everything in its path. And also he flew out and started chasing me. I then lured endermen towards it, hoping they'd die and drop wither roses, but no roses dropped. So I had no choice but to kill the wither without accomplishing my plan. Oh, I picked up a wither rose. Wait, what? Where did it even come from? Confused, I started repairing the damage and returned to my island. I decided to change my strategy. Instead of using endermen, I'd use a special mechanism that kills snow golems. Hopefully this method would be more efficient. To execute my plan, I removed a line of sugarcane and planted pumpkins instead. Then I found some snowballs in my chest and crafted snow blocks. I also needed dispensers and an observer for automation. Oh, the first pumpkin has already grown. I can start expanding the farm bit by bit. For the next 5 days, I waited for the pumpkins to grow, expanded the farm, and patiently waited to gather enough. To be honest, it was a long and boring process, but I had no other choice. Eventually, I gathered 42 pumpkins. After that, I had to go back to the nether for the 3rd time to farm wither skeleton skulls. Seriously, what a grind. Luckily, with looting 3, they dropped quite often. I collected 3 skulls in just a few days and headed back to the end portal. Once there, I set up the area for the wither and placed 2 dispensers connected to an observer. The upper dispenser would hold pumpkins, while the lower one would contain shears to carve them off the snow golems. This setup would give me an infinite supply of pumpkins. After putting away unnecessary items in a chest, I summoned the wither and activated the mechanism, but once again something went wrong. Wow, I'm such an idiot, I forgot to carve the pumpkins. Realizing my mistake, I quickly placed and carved the pumpkins, and the mechanism started working perfectly. Now all I had to do was place 2 snow blocks, spawning a snow golem whose pumpkin was immediately sheared off. Then the golem would fall into the wither's chamber and die, dropping a wither rose. Since the pumpkins are infinite and snow drops when the golems die, I could stand there as long as I needed to collect the required amount of wither roses. Also, even though the wither was stuck in the blocks, it couldn't die because its health partially regenerated with each snow golem killed. After collecting a little over 2 stacks of wither roses, I killed him, turned off the mechanism and headed back home. All the necessary resources for the magma farm will go into this chest. Oh, the island's on fire! How did it even happen? What the heck? I need to put out this fast. Ooh, looks like I extinguished it. The rest of the island is safe. On the night of day 821, my island somehow caught fire. I suspect it was from a lightning strike, but what's the chance of that even happening? Thankfully, I noticed it quickly, so the damage was minimal. I continued gathering resources for my new farm. I also needed leaves and dirt, so I managed to multitask and collect everything needed. Once everything was ready, I headed to the Nether to find the Basalt Deltas biome, and after a few minutes I found it. First, I placed rails with a minecart, then dirt blocks on top of the structure and planted wither roses. To prevent magma cubes from escaping, I added blocks on the sides and elevated the entire structure. After that, I built out 9 blocks in each direction, connected the edges diagonally, forming an octagonal platform. Then, 4 blocks above, I built the second level with the same design except for the leaves. I extended the leaves 5 blocks out from the main platform, connecting everything to increase the spawn rate. This method works insanely well. The number of mobs spawning was crazy, and they were getting in the way of placing the iron golem capsule. Since I was running low on fireworks and food, I went back to restock quickly before returning to finish building the farm. When I returned, most of the slimes had already despawned, so I could safely finish building the chamber. Alright, placing it, and done. Now this golem will attract all the slimes. The farm is officially complete. To maximize the spawn rate, I built 120 blocks up. This is where I'll AFK. I can see the farm working from up here, and there is a ton of slimes down there. To avoid getting killed by a guest, I built a small room where I'll stay safe. Here's how the farm looks from a distance. I only realized later while reviewing the footage that I placed the golem's chambers slightly off-center. Because of that, slimes on one side weren't falling into the trap. But even with this mistake, the farm was still producing a massive amount of slimes, which fell into the trap and died as planned. After AFKing for an hour, the chest was almost completely filled with magma. I crafted it into blocks and ended up with over a full row of magma blocks. Just awesome! But for the zombified piglin farm, I'll need even more, so I went back to AFK some more. After fixing the farm, it became even more efficient. After about an hour and a half of waiting, my shulker box was completely filled. With this amount, I can start building the piglin farm. I went back home, killed some animals, restocked my food, and grabbed the cooked meat. After healing up, I gathered shulkers with all the necessary resources for the piglin farm. It took me the whole evening to get everything ready before heading back to the Nether. Building off from my old farm, I started working on the new one. I made a room where I'll kill the piglins and then began constructing the spawning platforms. Magma blocks are used to prevent other mobs from spawning. Most of them avoid spawning on magma because it takes damage. This allows piglins to spawn without competition from other mobs, maximizing the spawn rate. Unfortunately, I ran out of magma blocks before finishing the last layer, so I had to go back to the slime farm. I can't even imagine how many slimes this farm has killed by now. I'm so exhausted, you have no idea. After a few days, I finally returned to finish the farm. By the way, to avoid taking damage from the magma blocks, you can either enchant boots with Frostwalker or just shift. I'm using the shift method, even though it's pretty inconvenient. For the last layer, instead of another platform, I placed slabs to prevent the spawn of piglins. Unlike most mobs, they don't take damage from magma blocks, so they can spawn on them without a problem, which is why they are so annoying for us. It's all done, there are already tons of piglins spawning, this is awesome! In the kill room, I added ladders to climb out and safely lure the piglins. I also added a trapdoor here to make sure nothing can get to me. Alright, everything's ready, here's how it looks. I went back to my island, grabbed a bow and flew back to the farm. Stand right here, fire the arrow. Alright, they're coming. Now they're rushing toward me and fall into the trap where I can easily kill them. There are so many of them here that they're even suffocating each other. This is insane. In just a few minutes I got 21 gold blocks. This farm is perfect. This new zombified piglin farm is 10 times better than the old one. The spawn rate is insane and I can kill them manually. Plus, with looting 3 on my sword, I'm getting even more gold. The only downside to this farm is the golden swords. They clutter the inventory so much. Because of this, I constantly have to sort through my inventory and chests. But after just 15 minutes of farming, I already had 52 gold blocks. For convenience, I added chests here to store all the rotten flesh. And in this shulker, I'll store the gold blocks as they pile up. This farm is completely OP, just wait for the piglins to fall into the trap, go down and finish them off in a few hits. I spent the next hour farming gold non-stop. The XP just keeps coming. When's it gonna stop? After just a little time here, I filled the chest with rotten flesh and gathered over a stack and a half of gold blocks. That's insane. My days were full of monotony and endless grinding. I needed an absurd amount of gold. After more than 2 hours of real-time farming, I hit level 190 and my shulker was filled with over 6 stacks of gold blocks. I think that would be enough for my plan, or at least for the beginning. I gathered the shulkers and finally flew back to my island. It felt like forever since I'd been here. Everything's still intact, nothing's on fire, and that's a relief. When I returned, the first thing I did was start gathering resources for yet another farm. I hope you're not tired of farms yet, because I definitely am. This time we need piglins. The plan is to use the gold we've gathered to trade with them and get gravel. We can use that to craft coarse dirt and then turn it into regular dirt. Essentially, this allows us to infinitely duplicate it. Plus, piglins can drop quartz, which we can use to craft diorite and then convert it into andesite. This will help diversify my block palette, making my floating island look even cooler. First, I used the wood I gathered earlier to craft a ton of chests, but even that wasn't enough, so I went to collect more oak. Eventually, I managed to craft over a stack of hoppers and gathered 120 chests, and all other necessary resources. Then I headed to the nether to prepare for the build. After gathering all the necessary materials, I started constructing the piglin farm where my old zombified piglin farm used to be. I began by placing chests with 1 block of space between them and connecting hoppers to them. Then I added another layer of chests to ensure they wouldn't overflow. Using leaves, I built the bases for the piglin chambers and placed droppers. I covered the hoppers with carpets and put pressure plates in front of the droppers to detect when to throw gold to the piglins. After setting up the redstone mechanisms, everything seemed to be working fine, except I forgot that I'd need glass blocks to seal off the piglin chambers. It's not just for looks. Glass needs to be pushed by pistons because the piglin standing on the carpet is just over 2 blocks tall. I went back to my island and waited for the wandering trader, hoping to buy sand from him. I'll wait here by the coast since he showed up here last time. After 4 days of waiting, he didn't show up. So I went to my old spot and found him standing there. Dude, how did you even get here? And you don't have any sand. Realizing why he wasn't spawning, I went back to my spot and waited some more. And you know what? After a few days, I realized something. There was sand here all along from when I built a beacon. Wow, I'm stupid. I smelted it and went to gather more wood, which I used to craft pistons. After collecting the glass, I returned to the nether. I set up the pistons and glass to seal the piglins inside. Alright, this is how it's gonna work. Next, I crafted some gold ingots and built a leafy path upwards. I needed to lure the piglins up with gold, eventually leading them into the chambers. Alright, fall in. Got it. The first one's in. In the chaos of mobs, I managed to separate out the piglins surprisingly well. After clearing out the mobs, I sealed off the chambers. There we go, all set. Everything was ready, so I loaded each dropper with 9 stacks of gold. But when I activated the mechanism, nothing worked. Seriously? I spent ages building this and it doesn't even work. I realized the mechanism failed because I used stone pressure plates instead of wooden ones. Since I flew quite far away, zombified piglins respawned and I had to fight them again. While dealing with them, a ghast shot me right as I was at the piglin farm, and he managed to break 2 piglin chambers. Great, just great. I tried to fix them and lure in new piglins, but I almost died in the process and barely escaped with half a heart. Ooh, that was too close. I'm heading back to the island. Back on the island, I stocked up on golden carrots to restore my health and headed back to the nether. When I returned, I found that besides the 2 broken chambers, some piglins had despawned from other chambers, so I had to lure even more of them all over again. Honestly, I was getting really tired of dealing with these crazy pigs. Then I removed the stone slabs and replaced them with wooden ones. When I started the mechanism, I finally saw that everything was working perfectly. The gold stays on the pressure plate until a piglin picks it up. Once he grabs the ingot, the plate gets activated and the dropper spits out another gold piece. This process can go on infinitely as long as I don't run out of gold. Oh man, some gold ingots are flying out. I tried to fix this by placing some blocks, but then a ghast suddenly spawned and shot at the farm again. Luckily, this time I managed to deflect its fireball, so the farm was unharmed. After sealing off the last of the droppers, I headed to the AFK room. To build this piglin farm, I first had to create a wither rose farm, then a magma cube farm, and finally a gold farm. And now, thanks to the gold, I can AFK at the piglin farm and get all the resources I need. I gotta say, this is insane. I've never survived in such hardcore setup before. This is just nuts. After an hour and a half of AFKing, all the gold was used up and I ended up with 12 chests full of resources. I immediately started sorting everything and ended up with just over 2 shulkers full of gravel and also nearly a full shulker of quartz. Now comes the fun part, turning the gravel into dirt. I grabbed a shovel and some dirt I already had, then combined the gravel with the regular dirt to make coarse dirt. From there I just had to place it, till it, and it would transform into normal dirt. This method lets us get tons of this valuable resource, because essentially we're duplicating all the dirt we have. All we need to do is farm gold, AFK at the piglin farm, and then convert the gravel. Rinse and repeat until we get the amount we need. Thank goodness the shovel instantly mines the blocks, so it hardly takes any time at all. For the next 5 days, I was busy converting gravel into dirt. I would have kept going if not for one small problem. My shovel was about to break. I had to put mending on the shovel and hoe so I could repair the tools, and went to the zombified piglin farm. The XP here is insane, so I repaired all my tools in just a few seconds. Back to converting gravel into dirt. The process was super time consuming since I had to till each block with a hoe. It was tedious work, but I didn't have a choice. I planned to build a massive floating island. After a while I managed to gather nearly a full shulker of dirt, but my tools kept breaking way too quickly. To solve this, I sold rotten flesh, earned more emeralds, and bought an Unbreaking 3 book. I enchanted my shovel, repaired my tools, and went back to converting gravel into dirt once more. I have no idea how much gravel is left, but I'm so tired of this, you wouldn't believe it. Standing here forever, placing and tilling blocks, then flying off to repair my tools. And just so you know, this is the fastest method to get dirt. If you think about it, there is literally no faster way. That's how my days went by until I converted all the gravel I had. In the end, I got just over 2 shulkers of dirt. Considering how scarce resources were at the start, I'd say that's an incredible result. Next, I combined the quartz with cobblestone to make diorite. Then I mixed the diorite with more cobblestone to get andesite. I'll use this to diversify the palette for my floating island. Everything was basically ready, so I could start building and gather more resources as needed. I decided to construct the floating island near my old one. Somewhere around here I build up a bit higher, and I'll start sketching out the basic shape soon. To give you an idea, I spent about 10 days just creating the outline of the future island. Either from the number of days I've played or from all the non-stop building, but unfortunately the replay mod bugged out and the recording won't load. Here's how it looks so far, and I've gotta say the scale of this is massive. I'm so exhausted from building, you have no idea. And this is just the outline. You can't even imagine how much more suffering awaits me. Once the outline was complete, I started filling it in with dirt. At some point I seriously thought I made the island too big and wouldn't be able to handle the scale. But despite that, I kept placing block after block. I've already run out of dirt blocks, and I haven't even filled half the island. This is insane, but there is no turning back now. I had no choice, so I went back to the Nether and flew to the zombie piglin farm. I'd have to spend a lot of time here again to repeat the entire process and get at least a couple more shulkers of dirt. I have no idea how much gold I need, but at least this farm produces a ton of it. After about an hour and a half, I managed to gather 4 more stacks of gold blocks. Then I headed to the piglin farm, loaded the gold into the droppers, and started waiting. I spent about another hour waiting since trading with piglins isn't exactly fast. In the end, I got a full inventory of gravel that needed to be turned into dirt, and that took a ton of time too. Finally, I went back to building the floating island. It's crazy how much time I spent on this just to explain it to you in a minute. And to be honest, I didn't even have enough dirt, so I had to fly back to the Nether several more times and repeat the whole process. You have no idea how exhausted I was. My finger literally started hurting from placing so many dirt blocks. Placing the last block? Ooh, done. This is insane, just look at the scale of this. I never would have thought I'd end up building something this massive. I really hope all this effort was worth it. After that, I flew to my old island, where I used a silk touch pickaxe to gather grass blocks. I went back and started placing them randomly. Over time the grass will spread and the entire island will be covered in greenery. Next, I began adding volume to the island. I built platforms slightly lower and added dirt blocks to create more natural shapes. Honestly, this was pretty challenging, but I wanted the island to look good, so I had no choice. By the way, I used cobblestone for the temporary platforms, which was a big mistake since breaking them later takes way longer than regular stone blocks. It's already looking a bit better, and the grass is starting to spread too. It actually looks pretty amusing. I skipped the night and continued adding shape to the island. I didn't finish until the end of day 945, but I could finally see some progress. The next morning, I built even lower and started adding shape using cobblestone, stone, and andesite. I tried to place the blocks in a way that the colors wouldn't blend too much. Every few blocks, I mixed in some andesite with the cobblestone. Overall, it was coming together nicely. Here's how it looks, and honestly, I think it's turning out pretty well. Oh, I almost died from falling on the bed. That would have been the dumbest death ever. And I need to remember to place torches here or mobs will start spawning. That's how my days went by, adding shape and breaking the temporary blocks. I eventually stopped using cobblestone and switched to stone, which sped up the process quite a bit. I'm actually starting to like how this looks, and the torches make it look so cozy. After skipping another night, I flew to the mob farm to repair my elytra, then I went back to building the island. The only downside was constantly flying back to my storage for more blocks, but other than that, everything was going pretty smoothly. That's how I spent the next 10 days, building and more building. Here's how much I built so far, and man, I'm so exhausted. The island is so big that my chunks barely load all of it. Just so you know, I originally planned to build it way smaller, but things didn't go exactly as planned. Whoa, look at all these mobs that spawned over there. I finally finished the second layer of the island on day 958, and honestly it was worth it. It already looks incredible. I can't believe I even decided to take on something like this. Building such a massive structure in a world where I started with nothing. It's just insane. Oh, and the entire island is covered in grass now. It looks amazing. After that, I broke the old temporary blocks and built even lower, setting up a new outline to guide me. I made it slightly smaller to start narrowing the base of the island so construction became faster and easier. Maybe I narrowed it too quickly, but once everything is done, it'll look awesome. The next few days of my miserable life were extremely repetitive. All I did was build. Occasionally, I took breaks to get more blocks and torches. Even though the third layer was easier to build, I was still getting pretty exhausted. My finger hurt so much. I don't even want to imagine how many times I clicked. Alright, that's it. I finished the third layer. It looks so cool inside with all the torches. Oh man. And this is how it looks from the outside. Just incredible. And on the morning of day 963, I was greeted by a rainbow. Wow, the vibes here are immaculate. After that, I broke the old path. And this is how the floating island looks during the day. It already looks pretty presentable and cool. Honestly, I could probably start decorating it as it is, but I decided to see it through to the end and fully complete it. I think this time we just need to build the final outline. This is how it looks. Pretty soon it'll all be finished. Next, I broke my path and went to the platform where I traded with the villagers and restocked my food supply. Then I continued placing blocks on the lowest layer. Alright, time to fight an Enderman. Wow, you're pretty weak, aren't you? Oh man, how many of them are here? Whoa, I almost died from the Enderman. Only 2 hearts left. If I didn't have the best armor, I'd have died like 10 times by now. Take that, my guy. After that, I restocked my blocks once again and started some serious building. Since each layer required fewer and fewer blocks, I managed to finish everything in just a few days. Placing the last blocks, and done! The 4th layer is fully completed. Just look at this, I think you could build an entire city inside here. It looks impressive. And this is how it looks from the outside. It's absolutely breathtaking. I honestly didn't think I'd finish it. Just so you know, the construction alone took me about a week of my time. I'm so exhausted and worn out, you have no idea. Slime's even spawning inside here. And so, on day 964, I finished the bottom of the island. Done, guys, it's done. It's just insane. There's so many space inside that I can't even fly around. Just imagine what could you build inside a structure like this. The island was fully completed, and this is how it looks in its finished state. Now it's time to bring some order to it. I plan to build all kinds of farms you can imagine, set up watchtowers, and even create an entire city for villagers. For now, I decided to return to my original platform. In one of the chests, I found a spruce sapling that I had gotten a long time ago from a wandering trader. I planted it, chopped down my first spruce tree, and kept going until I had collected 4 saplings. Now we can grow a gigachad spruce tree. What a beast, we'll be farming wood so easily now. Rest in peace, Steel Dumpling. I kept farming wood and eventually had 4 stacks of spruce logs. Well, I think that should be enough for now. I crafted some stone bricks and flew over to my floating island. Here I'm planning to build my house. For it, I decided to use schematics for the first time to make sure we have the best of the best house. But pretty quickly I realized I was just wasting my time. Building this way was ridiculously inconvenient. It was hard to tell where each block should go, and I didn't even have half of materials I needed. So I had to improvise. I laid out a foundation and jumped straight into the building. I went with a more medieval style since I didn't have that many resources, meaning I couldn't afford to go too crazy with the design. I tried to mix different blocks to make the color palette more interesting and prevent the materials from blending too much. I planned the house to be 2 floors with multiple sections, so construction took quite a while. I had to carefully think through every detail since my resources were limited. I left some space for windows inside, and we're also gonna have a fireplace. Here's the staircase for the 2nd floor. There's a ton of space here, perfect for the storage room. But for now, the main question is, what material should I use for the roof? Then I remembered I had some blackstone left over at my piglin farm, so I immediately headed to the nether and grabbed as much as I could carry before flying back. Honestly, I think this is gonna look awesome. For the next few days I worked on the roof trying to add more depth to the build and make it look even better and more detailed. And I have to say, it was turning out pretty nice. While I was busy building my mega base, some pillagers showed up on the island. Got an achievement and the bad omen effect. That means we might get our first totem soon. Dang, I forgot to light up our house. Ooh, last thing I need is for a creeper to blow up here. The next morning I headed back to my old island to restock on resources, but I completely forgot that I had bad omen effect, and I ended up triggering a raid right there on the platform. I grabbed some iron, healed my golems, and crafted a shield. This guy spawned right next to the fox farm. Wait, how many of them are there? Let's try hitting them. Whoa, they just went flying. Only 2 Ravengers left and they don't seem too eager to fight me. Oh wait, never mind. One of them actually wants to. Wait, who made a hole in the fox farm? Let's push them into the void. Bye-bye. Why aren't they attacking me? Kinda weird. I kept knocking all the raiders into the void. For some reason they completely refused to fight me in the tight spaces, but when they had enough room they were super aggressive. I had to keep healing my golems constantly. Alright, that should do it. There's an evoker somewhere around here summoning Vexes. Aha, here you are. And now I have a totem. Alright, you guys are the last survivors. And now there are none left. They spawned at the fox farm again. Another totem, nice. What the hell is going on here? They're about to break my totem. Yo, chill. Oh, finally, that was the last one. We defended our first Skyblock raid. In a normal world, this would already be a big achievement, but here, just something unreal. Taking advantage of villager discounts, I stocked up on lanterns and crafted some torches to properly light up my house. In the morning, I added some lighting to the rooms. And here's how this beast of the house looks right now. On the first floor, I installed the glass panes I had left from my previous survival world. Let's also add some greenery around the house to make it feel cozier. And since I ran out of glass pretty quickly, I had to use fences for the 2nd floor windows. But honestly, it still looks pretty good. Final touch, and it's done. I think it turned out really nice. Some areas definitely need improvement, like replacing the stripped wood or swapping the plain stone on the roof for something more fitting. But we'll deal with that later. For now, I decided to head back to my old island. I smelted some wood there and used the charcoal to craft campfires for our fireplace. Let's place them here, add some iron bars, and for decoration some trapdoors. I really like how it looks, it already feels so cozy. The next morning, I built the same fireplace setup on the second floor. This house is turning out amazing, it looks great, and besides that... Oh damn, where the hell did it come from? To make the mansion look even better, I replaced some of the stripped wood because regular spruce seemed to fit much better. I also added a chimney to the roof for even more unique atmosphere. Next, I wanted to add some more functionality to our island, starting with another portal. To make it look more interesting, I added depths using spruce wood and oak logs. Then placed barrels around the edges for easy resource storage in the future. The roof will be made of slabs, which I think fit perfectly. And finally we add trapdoors on the sides. The result, a simple yet stylish portal. Oh, and we'll be able to see the portal from the first floor. Got a decorated area later, it's gonna look insane. Inside the house, I added barrels and chests with the main storage set up in the attic since it had the most space. Dang, the vibes here are immaculate. In the morning, I made a decision. I was gonna wipe out every hostile mob on my island. Ooh, that creeper almost blew up. This island is absolutely massive. There is so much to improve. I can't even imagine how much time and effort this will take. Sometimes I had to return to the starting platform to gather spruce wood and restock my supplies. Later, I started building a fence for the large farm. I decided to use cobblestone, which would later turn out to be a mistake, but more on that later. For now, I had to set up water sources. To do this, I had to get creative and even build inside the island itself. You have no idea how exhausting that was. I only finished when night fell, so I went straight to bed. Wait, what are those sounds? Who are you? Oh great, a creeper too? What is this? A horror game? Next, I'm planning to build a well. I chose spruce for it since I wanted all the builds on the island to share a consistent style. I used cobblestone for the base and made the roof from the stone and andesite. Alright, looks pretty good. On the morning of day 981, I finished watering the farm so we could start growing crops, tilled the soil and planted 2 sections. Here's how it looks from a distance, and to be honest, I don't really like it. I think everything has to adhere to the same style, and we're pretty bad with this. The first thing I did was to work on the main house. I decided to use spruce planks for the roof, which I think look way better. So much nicer than before. I also started reworking the well's roof because light color stone just doesn't match our style. The island is slowly transformed me and I couldn't be happier. I completely removed the fence around the farm since I originally built it with a cobblestone which looked totally out of place. So now I'll have to rebuild it and come up with something new. The grass will spread here anyways, so whatever. I think I'll use leaves instead of cobblestone, but first I need to find some. I dropped off unnecessary resources and flew back to the old island to share trees and gather more wood. Now even the path looks much better. The next day I finally started collecting leaves for the next building, which is gonna be a garden. Using leaves I began constructing an arch-like structure. Then marked out sections for the farm plots, prepared spaces for water, filled them up and covered. I then divided the farm into smaller sections for different types of crops, tilled the soil and planted carrots, potatoes and wheat. I think this will be more than enough for a long time. All that's left is to build the leafy arches along all the farm rows. Final block and done. It's already looking pretty damn good. To make everything feel more connected, I linked all the arches together using same leaves and built a simple entrance with the wooden gates. Then I started working on the fence to keep unwanted visitors out. I used oak gates for this since they fit perfectly with the farm style. Now this place looks absolutely stunning. Alright, just need to add some lighting and we're good to go. For that I placed gates between the arches and fences in the center to hang lanterns on. This lighting style I will be using throughout the farm, and honestly, it looks incredible. From time to time I had to gather more wood since my supplies kept running low, but compared to everything we've already done, there was nothing. The atmosphere here is just amazing, and hey, we can even see our old island from here, the place where it all started. The next morning, I placed the remaining lanterns and started working on the pathways around the farm. I also focused more on adding greenery since it makes everything look much more alive. The leafy arch design fits in perfectly. I can't think of anything better, just pure beauty. I also added a few composters because I plan to bring in a ton of villagers here in the future. Wow, at night the farm looks even more atmospheric. I don't even want to leave. The next day I realized it was the time to replace the portal's roof with a dark stone, so that all the builds would match. And since we already have several structures, I started connecting them with proper pathways, leading to all the buildings. Then, once again, I set off to the starting island to gather spruce wood. While I was there, I crafted a flint and steel so we could finally light the portal. Oh, we spawned right next to our old portal. This means we'll be able to transport villagers and animals to the main island in the future. In the nether, I stocked up on dark stone and returned to the overworld. Once I got back, I moved my shulker boxes, chests and crafting table into my new base. Next, using spruce wood, I laid out the foundation for our future barn, the next building where we'll keep animals. I connected the support pillars with stairs and trapdoors to add more detail and depth. At the entrance, I built a small roof. Not bad at all! To avoid having empty space near the roof, I filled it with various small details that make the build look more natural and well designed. For the roof's outline, I used dark stone, and here's how it turned out. The only thing left was to fill the empty space on the roof, so I got to work. Dang, this barn is turning out massive. There's gonna be so much space inside. Next, using dark stone and fences, I started creating pens for the animals. And to make the barn feel cozier, I even added gates alongside the fences like this. And this is how we do the entrance. Not gonna lie, this is peak design, tons of space, and it looks absolutely sick. The next day I built a pathway leading to the barn, grabbed some carrots and wheat and headed to the nether. There I constructed a pathway between two portals to make it easier to transport animals from our previous platform. Yo, Iron Golem, what are you doing here? Hold on. Oh! Where did I just spawn? Bro actually made a hole in my mob farm. Who's gonna compensate me for my 4 planks now? The next morning, I lured some cows with the wheat and led them into the portal. Step by step, we covered a huge distance and finally made it to the floating island. I have no idea how else I could have transported them. Uber delivery isn't an option here. We officially have 2 cows in our farm. To avoid getting clad by an angry golem, I equipped a totem of Undyne and continued bringing animals over to the main island. Poor sheep, at least now they can finally eat some grass here. Of course, I didn't forget about the pigs either. Now our pen is fully stocked with animals. Now my next big project is to build a massive villager settlement with everything they need, from a castle to houses and even a church where they can live and thrive. And the first thing I decided to build was of course the church. I started by flying back to the original island to gather more stone and wood. Then I marked out the layout to help me stay on the track and began construction. Using stone bricks I built the columns, added depth to the structure and created a base for the roof, which I filled in with spruce wood. And of course the most essential part of any church is the bell tower. It took the most time and effort to build, but it was definitely worth it. Placing these letters correctly is a pain, but man, it looks so good. On my 1000th day of survival, I kept working on the bell tower and didn't even realize I had hit such a major milestone. That's crazy. Alright, time to add the roof to the tower. And of course we can't forget about extra depths. Without it, the build would look like a trash, I promise. Done. Here's how the church looks from the outside. It fits perfectly into the vibe of the villager trading district. Next, I collected some sugarcane and restocked my fireworks. When I got back, I started decorating the church interior, added some greenery and decided to use fences instead of glass for the windows. The wooden floor gives a nice rustic feel, and this is the amount of space we've got inside. Now let's add a proper pathway. It's already starting to look really good. Inside I placed some lighting, table and a few decorative details to bring everything together. And just like that, we've got a fully functional church. In the future I'll add some more lecterns so villagers can actually use it as a gathering spot. Oh, almost forgot the bell. Much better. I mean, what's the church without a bell? That would sound dumb. The next day I went to the nether because my pickaxe was about to break and I desperately needed to repair it. So I flew straight to my zombie piglin farm. Plus this is a great place to farm rotten flesh, which we can sell to the cleric. Dang, the XP just keeps pouring in. The spawn amount of mobs is still blowing my mind. Alright, time to go sell some loot to the cleric. With the emeralds I earned, I bought a ton of glass, crafted it into the glass panes and replaced the fences on the church windows. Now it looks even better. Then I decided to start building walls on the villager settlement so they could have a safe place on the island. First I gathered wood, smelted it into charcoal and crafted campfires. I also needed fences and trapdoors for the build. Here will be the entrance. I built a small tower like this and put some extra details. Then I mirrored the design on the other side, and to make it even better I added trapdoors and signs. On top, let's place a campfire. Finally, I completed it with a simple roof. Right next to it I built another identical tower. Now the only thing left was to create a villager entrance. Looks awesome! Next, I connected everything with the stone walls, alternating them with the andesite to add some color variation. Yeah, this fits perfectly into our style. Dang, I wanted to chop some spruce here, but it turned out the whole area into podzol. It's annoying. Gotta replace it with normal dirt later. To extend the walls, I placed spruce pillars, stripped them and hung lanterns on the top. Then I connected everything again. The atmosphere this creates is just insane. I marked out the area for Villager's Zone to better understand its size and layout. The next day I started building another entrance to the village. Here's how it's coming along, and honestly it's turning into an absolute masterpiece. In this area I plan to build a small castle, a villager breeder and add some small details that you typically find in vanilla villagers. The first thing I decided to tackle was the castle. Once again I restocked on stone and started marking out the foundation. Raider, hello? Oh, this time I actually got the bad omen effect. Guess we'll be fending off another raid and farming some totems soon. I spent the rest of the day building lookout towers for the castle. This will be the main entrance. Let's add a door and design it into an interesting way. Here's the final result. Now let's move on to the castle walls. I'm gonna mix in spruce fences. Not bad at all. Next I added castle style roofs to the towers. This looks absolutely perfect. I repeated the process on the other sides. And then the next step was sharpening the walls to give them more fortified look. Using campfires, I built the structure to add even more detail, and then decorated it with the lanterns. The atmosphere here is unreal. As soon as I arrived on my platform, another raid started, so I had to defend my villagers again. And for some reason, just like last time, some raiders didn't even try to attack me. Grabbed some coal, which was the whole reason I came here in the first place, and headed home. The next morning I crafted some campfires and finished decorating our castle. Now the last step is to make the interior look just as good. I crafted furnaces, blast furnaces and smokers, then headed back and started setting everything up. I created functional zones for smelting, cooking and roasting whatever we need. Placed an enchanting table, added a grindstone and stone cutter. Then I carved out pathways leading to each tower and decorated them as well to maximize the use of space. I also decided to design the roof to make the interior feel cozier. Finally, I added lighting, chests and barrels. Honestly, this castle turned out to be an absolute beast, fully packed with functionality. Now between the castle and the charge, I plan to build a trading area for villagers where we can buy and sell everything we need in the future. To make this happen, I flew back to my old island. Gathered some carrots and sold them to a farmer. With the emeralds I earned, I bought a mending book, enchanted my axe and repaired it at the mob farm. After that, I focused on gathering wood, which we'll need for the trading area construction. Once I had enough wood, I returned to my floating island and started laying the foundation for our build. The walls will be decorated with the stairs and trapdoors. The entrance will have the same design as the castle. A bit higher up, we'll add some extra details to make it look even better. And of course, add an outline to the roof. I think it looks absolutely awesome. Next, let's work on decorating the walls from all the sides and finish up the back of the building. To make the house look more detailed, I'm adding these overhangs on the sides of the roof. The sun is already setting, and here's how it looks so far. Now I decided to build the roof for the new section, then moved on to constructing the second floor walls using spruce logs, planks and fences. I made sure to add plenty of details to give the build more depth and started working on the first floor roof. Alright, looks solid, but to finish everything I need more spruce, and I'm completely out. Time to fix that. Alright, let's go to work on the other side of the building. Whoa, that's a ton of mobs. Let me just put some torches down. You guys don't mind, right? Oh great, a skeleton shot a creeper. I should have seen that coming. After repairing the damage, I finally got back to finishing the other side of the build. Done, finally. The next day I added lanterns and started working on the roof using different blocks to create texture. The border will be spruce to mark the spots where villagers will stand. Strip the logs and lay down the wooden flooring on each side. Yeah, there is plenty of space here. Inside I set up 2 floor trading booths to the villagers, added a ceiling and decorated it with the slabs. Also made sure to place enough lighting. To wrap it up, I added some chests and barrels for quick access to resources if needed. And that's pretty much it. Now all that's left is to bring the villagers and assign their professions. There is plenty of sections here, so I think this trading hall will last us for the rest of the game. Here's how it looks from the outside. By day 1014, the village had 3 completed buildings, but of course I wasn't stopping there. I spent a lot of time gathering as many resources as possible to finally finish the villager zone. The next build I decided to add was a simple house where villagers could breed and bring more tiny little nosy guys into the world. For the roof outline I chose dark stone. It fits perfectly with our style. Added windows and decorated them with small details like campfires, gates and trapdoors. Also swapped out some blocks and add more color variation. And to finish off this masterpiece, let's add a chimney. I gotta say, this looks really good. With your permission, let's add some greenery and start laying down pathways, connecting them to the castle and trading area and of course the charge. I'm also decorating the surroundings with leaves. It makes everything feel so much cozier and more alive. To give the farmers something to do, I added classic Minecraft-style crop fields, just like ones you'd find in vanilla villages. Also, I found the perfect spot for a well. All done. The villager area turned out absolutely amazing. It has everything villagers need: castle, church, trading stalls, and homes where they can live and work. The next morning I flew to my old island to start transporting villagers. I laid down some rails to make the process smoother and got to work. Hey, why aren't you getting in? What is even going on there? In the nether I also placed rails leading to the portal that connects our main island. Oh great, it looks like Gas broke the portal. I had to go back and craft a flint and steel. On the way I grabbed some beds and JustSkill blocks from the villagers. Hey, move it, why are you staying there? Alright, time to head back. Dang, there's already a good bunch of them gathering here. All aboard, workers. I lit the portal and broke the minecarts. First one's in and the second one too. And just like that we got our first villager in town. Using boats I transported the rest of my slaves to the settlement. Inside the house I placed JustSkill blocks and everything was set. Now our floating island was officially inhabited. We finally had some homies to trade with. This is awesome. Next I sheared some sheep and crafted more beds so the village could grow and bring even more villagers. Hey bro, what are you doing here? In the morning, as I stepped outside, I spotted a baby zombie riding a chicken. I took care of the little menace, but decided to keep the chicken and moved it to the pen. Alright, now all the animal pens are occupied. I'll need to find one more bird so I can start breeding them. I feel like the island is slowly transforming, but I have no idea how I'm supposed to build it up completely. I'll have to figure something out. Understanding how important a beacon is, I decided to build a tower to the house and finally activate it on the island. I marked out the dimensions and got started. As always, I use spruce and cobblestone because my resource supply is pretty limited. With this restriction, creating something fancy will be tough, but I'll do my best. The key is adding as many details as possible to make the build stand out. I also used some oak, it fits in perfectly well here. I had no clue what the final design would look like, but it was coming together nicely. I even decided to add some windows with fences for frames, and honestly it looked really good. After some time, I started narrowing the tower. To make sure it looks sturdy, I used stone brick walls. At the top, I began constructing something like a lighthouse cap. Added support pillars to hold the structure and started working on the roof. I think using stairs will help add some depth, making the giant structure look even better. By day 1020, I had finally finished the build. It turned out pretty great, and most importantly, it fits perfectly with the rest of our designs. After that, I flew back to my old platform and dismantled the beacon. Once I returned, I started thinking about the best placement for it. In the end, I figured the best spot was inside the island itself. There was tons of free space down there. Breaking some blocks, and done! We finally have a beacon. With each passing day we're getting closer to our goal, and I couldn't be happier. Time to activate it for speed, so moving around the island becomes much easier. That way we can build even faster. For my next project I had to gather a ton of stone and craft a bunch of lanterns. Using these materials I started building a fence around the area that would become something like a tree sanctuary. Lay down a pathway and designed an entrance. It turned out to be an awesome little wood farming zone. The next day I focused on pathways, connecting the beacon to the village and leading a path toward the fenced area, where the tree sanctuary will be in the future. From above it looks something like this, and honestly I'm really liking how our island is transforming. It's getting better every single day. But this puzzle right there is totally out of place. Gotta get rid of this part of the island. Replacing it with regular dirt will eventually turn it into grass, making the area blend in just like before. Now it's time to work on greenering up our sanctuary. So I flew to the old island, grabbed some oak and birch saplings and started planting on our tree farm. Right now it still looks kinda empty, so I'll need to gather more wood and collect more saplings to fill up the whole sanctuary with vegetation. That's what I spent the next few days doing. Also, can't forget to add regular grass using bone meal. It already looks way better. Maybe in the future we'll add some more greenery, but for now this will do. To make use of all the space, I decided to build the functional gazebos. The design will be simple and low-key, using spruce logs as the foundation, adding some more decorative details, lighting, and of course working on the roof. Here's how the gazebo looks, and I think it fits in perfectly. The next morning I placed lanterns all over the island since we were seriously lacking lighting. And inside the gazebo I added chests and crafting tables. Now we can start building materials here so we don't have to fly back and forth. Just grab what we need right here and keep building, super convenient. I spent the rest of the day doing smaller tasks like laying down pathways, adding more lights and some greenery. Dang, it's getting so atmospheric here, this is insane. But I don't like how there is still a bunch of empty space here. So I decided to fill it by building a few more gazebos. This time adding a special touch. This one will have a well. I dug it out, added some signs to keep the water from spilling, and made a little fence around it for safety. Wouldn't want any villagers deciding to take swim and getting stuck down there. Also, I set up a sneaky little trapdoor system. Now if we ever need to, we can go inside the island itself through the well, so it's not just a decoration, it's actually super useful. The next day I worked on the third gazebo. I think this one will house an automatic furnace. Sooner or later we'll need to smell stuff in bulk, so this will be really handy. Now we have 3 functional gazebos, and it really makes the island to look better. Now I'm planning to build a sugarcane farm because we need paper for fireworks, the most useful thing at this stage of survival. In the morning I wanted to buy some redstone from the cleric, but then I realized we don't even have one in the village. So I decided to check the nether and see what's going on there. Turns out a zombie had infected one of the clerics. Looks like I have to put you down, buddy. Luckily there was another cleric nearby, untouched. Since I didn't have a minecart with me, I had to push him all the way by hand, and let me tell you, it was exhausting. But in the end I got him where he needed to be. Oh, that was a grind. Then I put him in the boat and took to the village. Alright, we're here. Get out. Why do I have to push you every single time? Now we have a cleric, just need to get some rotten flesh for him. So off to the nether again. On the way I stopped by my piglin farm to grab some quartz, since we'll need it for crafting various redstone mechanisms. Then I went straight to my mega zombie pigman farm. Spent about 10 minutes there, and even in that short time I gathered an absolute ton of rotten flesh. I decided to sell to the cleric back at my old platform. While I was there, I also bought some redstone from him. Man, our island is looking so freaking cool now. When I got back, I sold the rotten flesh and bought even more redstone from the cleric. I think this amount should be enough for now. Why are you standing there, you little gremlin? What's so interesting over there? Come on, let's check our basement. Dude, you're acting kinda weird. The next day I crafted all the materials needed for sugarcane farm. And let's dismantle the old mob farm a bit, since I'm not planning to use it anymore. But hey, might as well salvage some useful resources from it. Oh, what the? Dang, that scared the crap out of me. To build a sugarcane farm, we'll also need spruce logs. And let me just complain for a second, I'm so freaking tired of gathering resources. It's like non-stop grinding in this world. Alright, I think this spot will be perfect for the farm. The next morning I got to work, laid down dirt where sugarcane will grow and started constructing the main mechanism to automate the harvesting. Connected the chest to collect loot, enclosed everything with glass and poured in some water. The mechanism itself is pretty much done, now we just need to make it look good. For that I added spruce logs on the sides and stripped them to make it look nicer. As for the roof trim, I once again went with a dark stone to keep everything looking cohesive. And of course we can't forget about lighting. I spent the rest of the day filling in the roof and making sure there weren't any empty spaces. It's already looking pretty solid, just need to add a few finishing touches and the farm will be completely done. The next day I added some protruding sections to give the build more depth, and for extra detail I placed some stone buttons. For the walls I went with my usual style, using stairs and trapdoors, which I think fit perfectly. After that it was just about adding lighting and some smaller decorations. In the end, we got this clean, stylish build. Oh, almost forgot about the actual sugarcane. We need to plant it. And we should probably lay down a path here to make navigation easier. Alright, the sugarcane farm is officially done. We'll see how efficient this farm is over time, but for now I decided to build another identical one right next to it, just to make sure we never run out of sugarcane again. The roofs are kinda touching since I didn't calculate the size properly, but whatever, it's not a big deal. I also extended the pathway to the second farm and added some greenery. After more than 1,000 in-game days, I finally have an automatic sugarcane farms. How I haven't lost my mind yet, I have no freaking clue. On day 1035, I decided to go all in on landscaping the island. Used up all my bone meal and the extra foliage to make the whole place feel much more alive. Now the island looks much better. The next morning, I dismantled the timer from our old hostel mob farm since I plan to build a new one on the floating island. But this time I'm going all out, building a ridiculously massive storage system to stockpile as many resources as possible. So yeah, I spent the next few days constructing the mob farm, and I only managed to finish the timer mechanism late at night. All that's left is to load water into dispensers and create the area where mobs will die. Using magma blocks, I built the usual kill chamber setup. Then launched the minecart with the hoppers so it could pick up all the dropped loot. I grabbed some water from the well and set up the mob drop chute. Also made sure to load buckets of water into dispensers. After some time I finally managed to restore the farm. On top of that I got everything nicely organized. I added some pathways and of course did some landscaping. Damn, I really love how this place looks now. And it's time to test how much loot the farm will produce. Whoa, look at this chaos! This farm is gonna give us an insane amount of resources. I think it's the perfect time to set up an automatic melon and pumpkin farm since we'll need those for trading. First I laid the foundation and then slowly started placing the rails for collecting the loot. Only after that I move on to the main mechanism, place the redstone and it works. The next day I started placing the dirt where the crops would grow. And of course it was time to think about the farm's design. The walls will be made of fences and gates so we can see what's going on inside. Now I just need to till the soil and plant the crops. The sooner we plant, the sooner we get the first harvest. All that's left is to frame the roof and fill it with the blocks. And that's pretty much how it looks. Maybe we should add some glass paints in the front. At the sunrise the next day I went to gather wood since my resource stockpile was running low. After that I immediately started building the melon farm, though we don't actually have any melons yet, but I'm hoping to get some somehow in the future. Made some pathways and now we have 2 more automatic farms. Dang, this place is looking amazing. The vibe here is just perfect. Next on my list was a massive iron golem farm. To prepare, I stocked up on cobblestone and got to work right away. We're building it over here. I picked a spot at the very edge of the floating island, and there is tons of open space, so I can fit 3 farms on each side. As for the design, I decided not to overcomplicate things. These farms will be simple, but they'll generate a ton of iron. Sheared some sheep, crafted new bats, and placed them into the villager's house. We're gonna need plenty of little dudes for the farm to function perfectly. At dawn I went back to shearing sheep because each golem farm requires at least 3 bats. Gotta figure something out. Hop into the minecart, buddy. Hey, where are you going? Get back here. Alright, I see how it is. Well, if he likes it better here, then fine. But I think I'll just block off this door, just in case. After a while, I accepted that the villagers just didn't want to get into the minecart, so I went with the good old-fashioned method, dragging them across the entire island in the boat. Alright, just got the first villager. The next night, I started luring zombies into the farm and trapping them. Everything was going smoothly, aside from the fact that literally everything was trying to kill me. This is insane. Brought over the first villager, then the second and the third, and placing their beds. Our first iron farm on the floating island is complete. Poured the lava and here we'll put glass panes. Everything is working perfectly nice. Why did you spawn outside the farm? These golems have been such a headache. Okay, that's it, you're done. And after an absurd amount of time, I finally got all the farms populated with villagers. Now the only thing left was to find lava for each farm, so they could run automatically. I flew off to get some dripstone, placed it and poured lava on top. Now we just wait. The first bucket is ready. Here's how it looks from the outside. The last bucket of lava and done. Alright guys, I'm gonna have to take you out. And you too, buddy. What's a wandering trader even doing here? The iron farms were finished, but they looked kinda empty, so I decided to make them more aesthetic. I added some planting areas and grew some spruce trees. Now everything looks way better. There was still a lot of empty space, so I had to do something about it. For future builds, I went to gather some resources. Leaves will definitely come in handy for decorating the island. Whoa, a cat and an enderman? What the heck is even happening here? I figured this would be perfect spot to build a huge storage area since we have a ton of resources. So I started laying the foundation, as always using spruce logs. The front is made of cobblestone and then I stripped the spruce logs to give them a different look. I also added back entrance with cobblestone, and here's how it's looking so far. For the flooring, I used wood with cobblestone walls on the sides. Now all that's left is the roof. It looks alright, but it's still a bit empty and lacks details. I gotta fix that. I added barrels, set up some lighting and laid down a path. Around the building I scattered some leaves to give an old, overgrown look. Placed lanterns and expanded to pass. One to the right where I'm thinking of building a pier, and another to the left for a lookout tower. Inside the storage we'll have chests, added more lanterns, and for extra detail I placed some more trapdoors. Now it looks much better. To finish it off I threw in some grass, and now we have an awesome storage space where we can fit literally everything. I spent the whole night decorating the rest of the island, all while enjoying the atmospheric night sounds. Man, this looks amazing! The next day I took out some creepers and then got started on my next plan, building a pier. In the future I'll be able to walk on it and admire the vast emptiness. Super exciting, I know. I used logs for the outline and spruce planks for the flooring. Even though I kept running out of materials and I had to ration everything, it was coming along pretty nicely. Placed some lanterns, then added a bit of chaotic fence layout to make it look more natural. The atmosphere here is unreal. For convenience, I added ladders and even more lighting. Now it looks even better. Here's the view from the bird's poop perspective. I think it's time to start building the watchtower. For this build, I'll be using stone bricks because, well, I have way too many of them. And they actually look decent compared to other blocks I have. It took me a while to figure out how to even design this thing. In builds like this, the key is to add lots of layers of details. At the very top where the viewing platform will be, I started expanding the base. Here's how it looks now. Then I placed spruce pillars and began working on the roof. Added some flooring and a lantern hanging from a chain. It fits perfectly. For the interior, I didn't overthink it, just a simple ladder to climb up, and that's good enough. And honestly, it looks pretty cool from the outside. Especially at night, when the stars are visible, this place has such a cozy atmosphere. The next day I went all in on decorating the island. It was already looking nice, but more trees would make it even better. Over the next few days I just kept planting trees, adding leaf decorations and lighting up the area. To mix up the color palette I used moss blocks, they blend in perfectly with the greenery. For variety I placed azalea bushes and moss carpets. And the final result looked incredible. The island is transforming super fast and I love it. I even decided to decorate all the streets on my floating island, which I had completely ignored before. It took forever, but just look at the final result. Oh wow, a beehive! We've got bees now too, let's go! Around the perimeter, I built a few more watchtowers and extended the pier to make it look even cooler. Just look at this view, what a masterpiece! I also created a massive wheat field on the open area. To make it even cozier, I added lighting and extra decorations. This field fits perfectly here. In dark spots I placed some more lanterns and also worked on some pathways where they were missing. To wrap it up, I planted another wheat field. And now the island is completely finished. I finally accomplished the goal I had set for myself throughout this entire survival series. And honestly, I think I even overachieved it.
Но почему же ты выбираешь глубоко без души, что не хотят любить?
Now it was time to prepare for the Ender Dragon fight. But since I had already defeated it once, we needed to summon it. So I headed to the Nether, hunted some guests and collected their tears. Bought some sand from a wandering trader and started smelting it. Then let me craft 3 ender crystals, but I needed 4 to respawn the dragon. And as embarrassing as this is to admit, I had to break the glass from my own house. But hey, after that I finally crafted the last crystal. Just in case, I also made a bow and headed straight to End Portal. Alright, let's do this.
Люби меня долго-долго, чтобы больше не было больно, больно, одиноко. Люби меня долго-долго, невозможно, чтобы не воспевала воды свои несла. Как я тебя ждала, я тебя ждала.
I think this is the perfect way to wrap up this survival journey. We've accomplished some insane things. I can't even imagine what else there is left to do. And no, restoring deleted chunks doesn't count. Other than that, we've done everything here and even more. As always, I'm Skillux. I'd really appreciate your support. I spent almost half a year on this video, so drop at least a like and subscribe, of course. See you next time.